Paramount Pictures presents
Harriet
the Spy.
Rosie O'Donnell. And introducing Michelle Trachtenberg. In the first motion picture from Nickelodeon.
Well, I'm just out of school.
This summer, see the world through the eyes of a spy.
I'm never caught.
Oh, look, ugly water bug! Gotcha.
Harriet the Spy. Rated PG. Come celebrate Nickelodeon's first movie this July at theaters everywhere.
In a world where podcasts reign supreme, two friends dare to ask, do you even movie? Hosted by filmmaker Enrique Couto and movie aficionado David D. Neuer. Spoiler alert.
So my finger, this finger right here, you see? Oh, it's the right one. Yeah. Is finally almost normal.
Well, that's
after,
good.
3.5 months, almost 4 months.
Yep.
Well, I cut it real deep with my cooking, not my knife, it was the cleaver. And it literally looks like a surgical scar.
Yeah.
I'm not just flipping you off.
What were you making when that happened?
Pot roast.
Yeah, pot roast. That's right.
Yeah, and it's extra funny because I cut my finger and immediately knew what I did.
Yeah.
So I did what I was taught when I was a kid, which is you go straight to the sink and you run it underwater to make sure that everything's still attached.
That's what I did.
And if it isn't, you go to the hospital.
Then you go to the hospital, yeah.
So everything was attached.
Yeah.
But it was a pretty bad one. So I had my finger in a towel and I held my hand on top of my head and finished
the dinner.
Well, no. Have you ever made pot roast?
No.
Well, my point is, if you want to make a great pot roast, not a good pot roast, because it's not hard to make a good pot roast.
Yeah.
It's very hard to make a great pot roast. You have to sear it really well on every side. So I seared the pot roast with a hand on top of my head, and then just because you can't stop mid-sear.
Yeah.
And I was halfway seared already.
Makes sense.
So I stood there, hand on top of my head, searing and going, because it really hurt.
Yeah. That's usually what happens when you cut yourself.
And then once the searing was done, I shut the heat off and then I went and I couldn't find super glue anywhere in the house. So I just bandaged it as tight as I could.
Yeah.
And it stopped bleeding after about an hour. So that's fine.
That's good.
Yeah. This is why it's important and why I think every education system should include at least 2 classes of professional wrestling school. Because if I had not went to professional wrestling school, I don't know that I could have stopped the bleeding as quickly as I did.
That's fair.
But it dug in so deep. I cut about maybe 1/5 of an inch below my cuticle.
Yeah.
That after it healed up and everything was looking good, about a month and a half later, my finger started swelling and I was like, oh no, something bad's going on. It's infected or something. And I poked around and it hurt a little bit. And then I realized that it had cut the nail that hadn't grown out.
Oh man,
So it had to pass through the cuticle, which caused a lot of pain for about a week. But then after it passed through, I just had to deal with having a giant slice out of my nail as it grew out. And last week it finally grew enough that I could cut that out. And now I just have a very short nail. So hopefully it'll be a regular nail in another week.
Do you remember when you came and hung out with me the day after I had my toenail surgery, when I got that ingrown toenail issue removed, and then it turned out they actually didn't remove it, and then when I went back for my checkup, they had to recut me right then and there?
Oh yeah.
Because they didn't remove the root the first time.
Well,
that sucked.
All right.
Because I had just, if I remember correctly, I had gone to work and left work to go to my appointment thinking that they were going to be like, oh yeah, everything looks fine. No, they just went straight ahead and cut me right again and took the what had grown and then the actual root out that second time.
Well, I mean, would you rather they never get it done right?
Oh no, I'm not complaining in that regard. I'm more so complaining that it was just like you and I had a day where it was just like I remember like I had watched Die Hard with a Vengeance, Shoot 'Em Up. I can't remember what we watched when you came over, but I remember those were the two I started with. And then it turned out that like literally a week later I had to go back for the checkup, and they were just like, well, the root's still there, so we actually have to chop it once more again.
This is what the doctors call a whoopsie doodle.
Yeah. Oh, the one doctor was ripping on the other doctor because I went to. Did I go to urgent care for the first time? I can't remember.
The first time you had it done was at urgent care?
I can't remember, dude. It was either no. I went to No, I went to my actual. So I went to my doctor, but my doctor was not a like actual like foot doctor. And the second time I went to
you went to your GP.
Yeah,
your GP is not going to be a podiatrist.
Yeah, because my podiatrist was giving my GP shit because he was just like, yeah, I can't believe he missed that. I'm never going to let him live that down.
What, your GP originally removed all of the toenail?
Thought he did. Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was like a surgery.
No, that was outpatient.
I mean, so was my gallbladder was outpatient as well.
But I mean, like that was not a hospital. Like that was a legit doctor's office.
Yeah, then I'm not shocked the GP would slip up because it's not really their
I wasn't. I don't think I was when it happened. I just remember just being frustrated because I was just like, cool. Now I got to walk up another flight of steps with my toe bandaged up and in this like shoe thing that had the exposure to it.
But that's not that bad. You get to just pretend your foot is Darkman.
Yeah, that's great.
Eaton Westlake, take the fucking elephant.
Take the fucking elephant.
Well, I'm happy that it's mostly healed.
No, that's good.
You know, the worst part about it was you don't realize how often you just stick your hand in things until it either hurts or feels really weird every time you do. So anytime I had to like dig around in a pocket or a drawer, it would hurt or just feel super weird.
Yep, I can see that.
And not a huge fan, but I am very proud of how sharp I keep my cleaver because it really does look like a surgical scar.
It's impressive.
Like it is so.
The only scar I've got left. Yeah, the one I've got on my thumb, you can barely see it, but if you can see that line right there, that's when you remember my first apartment when I cut my finger really bad on those serrated blades.
That's so cute. Yeah. How do you cut yourself bad on a serrated blade?
I was fucking doing the dishes and it cut through the sponge when I was washing the knife.
Oh, so you were going up and down.
I pulled a stupid. I pulled a real stupid.
That perfectly answers the question because serrated blades are saws basically. So you have to move them back and forth.
Yep.
Did I tell you about how I scared my friend Jess because I was teaching her how knives work. And I decided without any thought about how this looks or how it works, I did exactly how I was taught how knives work.
Yeah.
Which is I took my arm out and I took the sharpest knife that we had just sharpened and I put it right up against my forearm blade down and pushed really hard.
Yeah.
And she went, which is what I did as a child. And I was like, see, it's the back and forth.
Yep, that does it.
Now, I mean, you can cut yourself.
You can.
But you would have to be pushing incredibly hard because I was teaching her how to cut onions properly. And I noticed she was just pushing straight down and it was very difficult. And it was giving her a lot of resistance. But it was funny, as she screamed and I was like, yeah, that's how I reacted. I was 7 or 8. But still.
Is what it is.
So, yeah, that's something else.
Well, I'm glad you're healing properly.
Well, thank you.
You are so welcome.
No, it really was. Yeah. Oh, the worst was doing the oddities event because picking things up, like you have to grip it hard and it'll hurt your fingernail.
Have I ever told you about my least favorite thing to do when I had my job at FYE? So FYE has the title cards that go behind the movies so that you know what you're looking for. Well, when you're Suncoast, you get a lot of those because like some titles either go out of print, some go pulled and just you don't get back in stock. So we had hundreds of title cards that had to be pulled, usually about monthly, I would say, maybe every other couple months. And that involved going through it and pulling them out, which wasn't the issue. Where the issue came was pricing later on with the title cards. So when you would go to put new title cards in, you would have to either do the on sale or the new stickering. Well, then when the sale was over, you'd obviously have to take the stickers off. I can't tell you how many stickers I got underneath my nail, and I would just have those red marks, those black marks where you just got stabbed under the nail.
Yeah.
Constantly when I was working that job.
If only you could have had access to gloves.
I didn't believe in them.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah. That's fair. There's a lot of things worth not believing in, and that's one of them.
Anyone wore gloves at that job for that particular.
Honestly, it'd be a pain to wear the gloves. I mean, it'd be less of a literal pain. Tosk.
But no, that was probably my least favorite. Next to because I love Recall. Recall was always something I actually enjoyed.
I was always more a Total Recall person. But
I actually, so when we still had the FYE in Piqua near me, the guys that worked there would call me up when they did Recall because they knew I loved doing it. And like, we're just like, we'll give you like pizza and like, do you really like doing this? Like, are you being serious with us? And I was like, yeah, give me a clipboard, give me some titles.
They're just dialing the police.
I don't know what it was I loved about it, but yeah, I mean, it was just like, if I had that list and I had to basically scavenger hunt these things, which at Suncoast, they would end up in some different places you wouldn't expect.
Yeah, well, when you have hundreds of uniform goods, then it's very easy for them to get mixed up.
Yeah.
I imagine it was similar to what it was like when I worked at Spencer's with T-shirts.
Oh, yeah.
Because, when it gets folded up real quick and dirty, they're all just black squares on top of each other.
Well, the best
you just never
was
know where they're going to be.
the bargain DVDs. Those basically all have the same the same barcode on them. So when you have your list, you see it bargain, 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 and then it has the title actually after it. So you would have to go through every single we had 3 places that they'd put bargain DVDs because we had the back wall that had like 5 or 6 shelves of them. Had the cart out front that had them all in the pile and everything, and then we had some on the other side too. So we're like 3 different spots that I had to go to hunt down the bargain titles, which the bargain titles were always like at least 2.5 pages long. So you're talking about like 150 that you got to pull.
Well, I'm sure they got ditched a lot because people would pick them up with like a sense of, what's that called? Like impulse.
Yeah.
But then if they shopped long enough, they might be like, oh, never mind. I want this full price item. I don't want to fuck with this $5 anymore.
Item. Yeah.
I don't want it anymore.
Well, the best was we'd have the Canadian releases of, so like you would have like, the US release of Pirate Radio was $14.99, whereas this bargain copy was like $5.97. And like the only thing that was different was it had French on it because it was those ones that were interchangeable or they had all the stuff on the front. So.
Yeah, like my first copy of Night of the Demons 3.
Yep.
And I think that was the case for one of my Amityville 1992 DVD.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Was also a Canadian.
Yeah, I've gotten a couple. Like I remember when I was working that job, I would pull a lot of those to take home personally too, because those bargain DVDs were the way to go. Because you didn't have to pay the full price that we were charging. Because as much as I loved FYE and Suncoast, prices are a little high.
It's almost like they have overhead.
Yeah,
it's almost like they had to pay your lame ass. They should have been like, work here for free. You'd be like, okay.
Dude, 30% discount on used was what would do me in half the time.
I believe that.
Yeah.
It's like my buddy who worked at a gun shop. He was like, oh, I'm part-time here. And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah, because I spend every penny I make here buying guns on the discount because the employee discounts are really good.
Yeah, if I had not bought a single thing at my FYE job, I probably would have had so much money when I left there after like 3 years, 3.5, 4 years.
I mean, in defense of that job, that's the case with everything.
Yeah, I mean, that is true.
X, Y, and Z,
but I mean,
so much money.
You don't put the drug addict in charge of counting the drugs.
No, I wouldn't recommend it, but that's on your supervisor. They're the stupid ones.
I was a great employee for that matter because I'd put my money right back into the company.
Yeah, you put your money where your mouth was as you scratched your neck and went, any more Blu-rays?
Oh, the best was like we would have people coming in to do buy or like to sell stuff and whatnot. And I'm not going to name names, but there was a certain manager that I had that actually got let go of because of this. And I may have said this on the show already, but like, our system would tell us what we had, like what we could offer for the item, like the top thing, like with Pawn Stars, like making the offer, we would have the top price, and that was the price that we had. So, like for example, like if somebody brought in the original Alien Blu-ray set, like that was Alien 1 through Resurrection, I think we gave $10 for that in cash, and by that point, like it was a $60 box set still.
Yeah.
So I remember, like I offered the guy 15, and he took it.
That sounds right.
I mean, that became like a regular practice thing, was just looking at the stack that they brought in and being like, what do I want?
David, what the hell are you doing?
I'm vaping.
Why the hell are you vaping?
Because I can.
I mean, you didn't ask permission.
Yeah,
this is not this is a smoke environment.
Yeah.
I'm going to get a sign made that says this is a smoke environment. Not free. Just remove the free. What is it so painful doing the show you have to vape your way through it?
No, I just wanted to take a small hit. No telling what is in my vape.
I'm pretty sure everybody knows.
Oh, I'm sure everybody knows.
Well, you see, unlike you, I'm smoking a Las Calavras, which is a cigar specifically for honoring the dead.
Fair enough.
Because I was trying to give a crap about your concept for the month.
I mean, I'm smoking a super lemon haze.
That made it so much worse.
That's why I told you.
Why would you tell me? Like, I'm smoking a super lemon haze. It makes all the people who've died glad they're not here anymore.
But yes, we are talking about May They Rest in Peace month. That is correct. And I appreciate your attention to the theme of the month.
That was actually, I mean, I have
I have no
that
doubt.
I've been saving up over the years. I actually won a 5-pack of years worth of these. They release a new one every year.
Yeah.
And I didn't know I won because Brian and Gonzo at my cigar lounge forgot.
I remember that.
And then on New Year's Eve, they're like, hey, by the way, and
Here
they
you
gave me this
go.
big bag. It might have even been 8, actually.
Yeah.
It was a huge bag. And by the way, these are not cheap. I think it was 8.
it New Year's Eve? Because I thought we were there when they gave those
No,
to
that was
you.
New Year's Eve.
Did you win something else and they forgot to give it to you? Because we were at the lounge and they brought
yeah,
something
but that
over.
wasn't like a big thing.
Okay.
It was a
That's-
small thing. Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
yeah.
Or it might have been Jeff won something when we were all there.
I was
Either way.
Jeff went into his locker and found those cigars one time, but I can't remember if he won something. When we were
I was
there.
just saying, I mean,
Yeah.
it's possible, but this was like winning 8 of these. I mean, these are expensive cigars
Yeah.
when they're in manufacture, and when they're not, they don't even get that expensive. They just become impossible to get.
Yeah.
So, because the idea is that you buy last year's as well, and yada yada yada. It's a whole thing.
Fiasco.
So, fiasco. For a second, I thought you said BS go. I was like, yes, David, honoring the dead is a BS.
Fiasco.
But speaking of the dead,
Yes,
we just got back from seeing Until Dawn,
we did.
which we got a nice 4D experience right before we went to it
That is
by
true.
having a massive rainstorm.
That I drove through to get to your house.
Did you have one earlier in the day, or did that not hit
Yeah,
you
we
guys up
had
there?
we had one. So I was inside at work, obviously. So when it hit, we just heard it. You know what was going on outside. But I didn't get to actually see it. But I think you got it way worse.
Oh, we
than
did.
We did.
No, I was recording. I'm not kidding. I was recording a podcast in my office with my foam and my sound blankets and everything. I had to stop recording because the rain and thunder was so loud
Yeah.
that I couldn't cut it out. Now, granted, you know, when we're doing a podcast like this, there's latitude. There's room to run a noise reducer if you need to.
Yeah.
Or people aren't expecting whisper quiet. But when you're doing Weekly Spooky,
Yeah.
you need the quietest space you can get.
You gotta have
that
your
it's-
atmosphere.
It's all about you and the listener and nothing else.
Yeah.
So it's intimate. That's
Yeah.
a good way to put it. So that's how loud it was.
When I got to my favorite Contra lane, I was beside it. I was not in it.
He's never going to let that go.
No, but when I got there, that's when I lost visibility. Like my windshield wipers couldn't keep up with the rain on that way over.
Do your wipers need to be replaced as well?
No, because remember I did it right before Sober Taxi.
Oh, yeah, you did. Good.
Yeah.
Good on you. No, because I often am like, hell,
Well, I mean,
I need new wiper
You've
blades.
been in my car when I have the smear.
Oh, yeah. Well, the funniest example of like, I hope you're happy you just saved, $18
Yeah.
was one time I was going to Pittsburgh to screen Depression the movie alongside Eddie Presley at the Hollywood Theater in
I
Dormont,
remember
Pennsylvania.
that. Yeah.
And that was a hilarious situation, by the way. They finally booked it and had it ready. And my dumbass boss at my job, a man who has so few genitals that when you're in the room with him, you actually lose a testicle until you get away from him.
Makes sense.
Or there's a doorway between you, or a priest.
Mhm.
I had come to him and said, with about 2 weeks notice, I was like, hey, they're showing my movie in Pittsburgh and they're showing it with one of my favorite
All-time
movies of
favorite
all
movies,
time. It's
yeah.
really important to me. It's on Thursday. I usually work a short shift on Thursday. So I need that day off. And I kid you not, he was like, well, I mean, we'll see what we can do. And I went, and I literally, there's a whole lot more, but I said, I was like, hey, that's cool. But like, I won't be here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but like, I won't be here. It's too important.
Yeah.
There was also one time when one of my movies was in the newspaper and my direct supervisor was looking at it and he was all like pumping it up and being all proud.
Yeah.
And then asshole main boss came by and was like, looks at it. He's like, I noticed you didn't mention your job. I don't want to say the place.
I remember that.
Well, wait, I can say it now. He's retired.
Yeah, you
he's
told me.
gone.
Yeah.
Dayton Access Television.
Yeah.
I worked there full time. I will not full time enough to have insurance.
Mhm.
Nonprofit work. Gotta love it. But so he was like, you didn't mention DATV in this. And I literally turned to him and I was like, you almost didn't give me the time off
Yeah.
to go to the premiere they're advertising.
Yeah.
And actually, the 2 premieres before that, I would get off work at 8:30. The premieres were at 10. I would run to the theater as fast as I could, do the screening, get home at 1:30, go to sleep, and have to be in at 9 because I worked Saturdays for a couple of years straight. So my point being that on the way to Pittsburgh, my windshield wipers were they needed to be replaced, and I was very bad about those things. So we're driving back from Pittsburgh. It's the middle of the night, and we start getting icy rain. Not like so icy your car's going to slide, but like rain is hitting the windshield and it's freezing a little bit. You got to get it out of the way.
Yeah.
And my windshield wiper just goes, and it comes back, and the little strip of squeegee was just gone.
Yep.
So now it's either not touching anything or it's scratching. It's not. And so we had to, I was there with my girlfriend at the time, and I was like, no worry, no panic. And she was like, well, what I mean, like, you can't see. I was like, I'm turning the heat all the way up and putting everything through the defrosters. We're going to pull over until the defrosters defeat the ice. Yeah. So that took about 10 minutes. And then we just zipped right back. But I remember that was one of those moments in my life where I was like, if you had actually weighed the benefit of that $16 you were waiting to spend against the negative, you would maybe be one hamburger meal shy, but you could have been able to see the road in the middle of the night while you were driving.
There is that.
Did I ever tell you that story about car stuff? I had a very old car for a while. I had a 2000 Volkswagen Beetle that I got when I was 5 years old, and I put 200,000 miles on it, just about. And I wouldn't say great care of the car, but I kept that car in working order until the computer failed. Yeah. Like, I kept it in very good shape in that way. It was ready to run for a long time until that happened. But one time, one of my back running lights was out. And I was like, oh my God, because I was broke and I was living in Jersey at the time. And I was like, I just can't deal with this. Like, it's not illegal for me not to have the running light. I'm just going to leave it be. And some friends had even said, like, well, those running lights come in really handy when you desperately need people to see you because they're extra light. And I was like, yeah, I know. But like, I just can't deal with this. So a year goes by, maybe a little more. And it's at my mechanic getting some work that it needed done. And they call me and they're like, hey, so this and this is looking pretty good. Should be done on the time frame we told you, but we noticed your running light is out. Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, I'd noticed that. Yeah. And they were like, well, do you want us to replace it? And I was like, well, how much is that going to cost? And I kid you not, he was like, about $950. And I was like, yeah, go ahead and do it. Let's go ahead and do that. Yeah. So he's like, all right, well, I'll give you a call in an hour or so when I have the final quote for everything all together. Yeah. I was like, great. Calls me an hour later. And this is the best part. Calls me an hour later. And he's like, all right, everything's looking the same. Like, the prices are all basically the same as what we quoted you, but that running light. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, well, the casing for it had got water in it. So the casing's damaged. So that needs to be replaced as well. And I was like, right. And how much is that going to cost? He was like, oh, $21. And I was like, oh, that's not bad. So $21 and then the bulb. And he was like, oh, no, that's the whole thing.
The whole thing. Yeah.
And I was like, man, I hope that $21 I saved for a year and a half was freaking worth it. Yeah. So my point is, the best advice I give about cars or about like taking care of yourself, your health, whatever, just if you know something's coming, even if you're going to put it off. Yeah. Just find out what it's going to cost. Yeah. Because you never know when you're going to realize that you put yourself out a lot to save almost nothing.
Well, it's like I've got 2 dental crowns coming, and I was worried that the price was going to be like $1,000 plus each one of them. But luckily with my insurance, it's only going to be about $560 altogether.
I mean, that is good, but also you need to be able to chew.
Yeah.
So, And
I don't feel like buying veneers just yet.
Well, I have a saying, which is, if the bill can fit on a Care credit card, you should be thankful. Yeah. Of course, that was before I had a Care credit card that held almost $30,000 in veterinary debt.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
But that's not a story for today.
No, it's not. But anyway, yes, Until Dawn.
We went to the theater in the pouring rain and saw Until Dawn. It was very 4D because Until Dawn opens in a thunderstorm.
Yeah.
Very fun. As far as the movie goes, loosely based on the Sony video game.
Very loosely.
Yeah. I mean, I think they would even say that openly.
Yeah.
Which is a classic. For those who don't know, the video game Until Dawn is literally a video game teen horror movie, basically.
And choose your own adventure.
Yeah. That's a video game.
Yeah.
Is you usually play video games.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that yes and no, but I mean, that specifically is one where you have choices to make. Like it presents you with choices. Not
Most
all
games have choices.
Not in the sense of like that. Like you literally have to choose one or the other. Like what I'm saying, like it gives you the option on the screen. Like Red Dead more so. I mean, yeah, you have that too, but like is more open map and stuff like that. That's immediately what I'm thinking of.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Well, but it is also a game.
Yeah.
There's like you play it
Yes.
as well. It's not just watching cutscenes and choosing things, which there are games like that. Telltale Games make some really fun games where all you do is choose mostly what's coming next.
Werewolf Among Us or
Wolf Among Us, which was really fun.
Yeah.
Super good.
I played that one.
So anyway, it's not that much like the game in that it doesn't have the snowy locale. It doesn't have the same characters. It has a similar vibe of like this group of teenagers end up in this decrepit place.
Yeah.
But then it goes into this whole time shifting thing where when everybody dies, the clock resets and you have to survive until dawn.
But you have all your memories of previously what has happened.
And some injuries from it as well.
Yeah.
And you start to turn into something.
Yes.
Which we don't want to spoil that.
No, we do not.
I will say, while I did not feel like this film set my world ablaze in a good way, it was a lot of fun to watch a silly horror movie like that in the theater.
Yeah.
It was very bloody, very gross. There were a few gross out moments that actually surprised me.
Oh, absolutely.
Man, you can really, our ratings are basically mean anything now, like for real. Because we saw like a full blown head smash.
Oh, yeah.
And like they didn't cut away or anything.
No.
They like showed the insides of the skull.
I mean, we saw multiple human bodies and parts and insides just go everywhere.
But I did enjoy it. I don't think I missed something, but I felt like the ending didn't make a ton of sense in certain ways.
Yeah.
I mean, it did, but then when I was looking back, I was like, how does this all relate?
I'm genuinely curious how much was cut out of the movie. Because, I mean, the movie is at a hour and 43-minute runtime. So, I mean, we're right under 2 hours.
Oh, wow. I thought it was shorter than that.
No. So, I'm curious as to what it was. Because it did feel like towards the end, we really started speeding things up. And
I thought it was speeded up from the start.
It's more so that I'm still, like I said, the spoiler alert, there's one point where we jump from they've done this 4 days to the last night, which is the 13th night.
Which was... They ended up playing it off to where it was actually kind of cool. But at first I was kind of like, oh, come on. I kind of wish they'd played into the humor a little bit more.
I was kind of expecting them to.
Well, because once you see them die like the third, fourth time, it's a lot less scary that they're going to die.
I mean, the movie felt like a culmination of Cabin in the Woods meets Happy Death Day is how I kind of felt with it.
You just think any horror movie with time shifting is Happy Death Day.
I mean... There's a lot, like they said in the movie, there's a lot of movies that do that, but Happy Death Day is one in the last decade that has really, really nailed that well.
I tried not to burst out laughing because there was a part where somebody says, like in that movie that does that, and one of the characters goes, there are a lot of movies that do that. That part's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But what made me laugh was when they said that, I imagined the guy who's kind of an outsider character. I imagined him going, Captain Ron. And for some reason, like just popped in. I know, that's why the face you're making is my point. That's why it made me laugh internally.
Captain Ron.
Because I was just like, I got to pick, like, there are like 10 choices. You know, Edge of Tomorrow, Happy Death Day, Groundhog Day, Palm Springs.
Still not on Blu-ray, by the way.
Palm Springs?
No, Captain Ron.
Oh, that's surprising.
No, you can get it HD on Vudu, but yeah, not on Blu-ray still.
But I just thought it'd be funny to give like the absolute wrongest answer.
Yeah.
So, but what about your thoughts on it?
I had fun with it. I think, like I told you in the theater, I think seeing it once is good for me personally. I thought the monsters were great. I thought the characters, like none of the characters bothered me, and I was really grateful with that, to be honest.
How would they bother you?
Bad
usually?
writing, not likable, that sort of thing. Like the characters were all likable. I
thought they were believable too.
Yeah, and believable, and also like they kept you wondering what was going on. My biggest beef is the way that they explain the ending, and also just some technical choices they took with the story, basically.
Yeah. They tied some stuff together that I think may have actually hurt the movie instead of making it better.
Well, and like I told you off mic on the way back, there were certain pieces of the game that I was kind of hoping they would incorporate in the movie. And I know they can't put everything in the movie, obviously, but having the totems as part of the game was always a great fun part of that game.
Sure, well, because it gives you potential foreshadowing.
Exactly, yeah. And I wish they would have done something with that, but I mean, at the same time, like they completely changed everything up.
Yeah, it's not much like Until Dawn at all. I will say, I think I might have liked the movie more if they had not done the time shift part at all.
I think it was an odd choice, to be honest.
I think they were trying to give us some more oomph.
Yeah.
Because what Until Dawn, the video game, had was an insane amount of twists and turns, fake outs, surprises. But what else it also had was like a 12-hour playtime.
Yeah, it happened in one night, and you had to survive the night, which they do that in this movie. But where I really, really feel it got missed was it was just like because you got to restart everything and do the Edge of Tomorrow and Groundhog's Day and Happy Death Day, the seriousness of their deaths the seriousness of their deaths got less and less.
Yeah, and
the danger just wasn't there.
Yeah, because I got a sense of danger at the idea like this will be our last time.
Well, and it genuinely had two like jump scares that
there were a couple of really good jump scares in it. Although the scariest one was straight out of the video game.
Oh yeah, I was kind of
literally lifted from the game.
Not surprised, but it was just like oh yeah, they did that exactly in the video game.
There was a good scare.
There was like two of those actually. Now I think about it.
There was one for sure that I literally I know that happened exactly that way in the game.
Peeking through the door.
Yeah.
But
overall, it really was fun.
It was fun.
I didn't feel like having played Until Dawn really had much of an effect either way.
No.
It didn't hurt the experience. It didn't improve it much at all. I mean, there were a few Easter eggs where you could be like, but that was about all you got.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you love horror movies, you would be stupid not to go see this movie because it is super fun. Also, you should support a teen slasher movie in the theater if you want to see more teen slasher movies.
Exactly.
Because they generally don't get a lot of love in the theater anymore. And of course, aside from your remakes and your big reboots and stuff.
You said the budget was low.
What did they say?
It's 15 on IMDb.
That is low.
Well, I know it's low, but I said like 9 in the car, and you said
I said maybe.
Yeah.
I said maybe. I didn't say because
I thought you said
it's not like I was asking about a Harriet the Spy Blu-ray.
Well, regardless, it's not doing too bad. You're right.
No, it's doing all right. If it has good word of mouth, it'll really be able to kick it into high gear the way Sinners kicked it into high gear.
Yeah.
Because it had a pretty damn good opening weekend, but it kept going.
It seems like everybody's kind of on the same page with Until Dawn from what I've seen review-wise so far and rating-wise. So I think it has potential to keep pushing. I just wish it was a little bit better.
I haven't really heard anybody hate on it.
No, I haven't heard like straight up hate.
So, what have you heard? Now that was loaded.
I mean, that's it. I haven't heard any straight up hate. I've heard basically that it's a fun movie, but doesn't reinvent the wheel.
No, it doesn't. I mean, it was trying to be something different, which is nice. I mean, it's never hurts to try and
not at all.
Be different.
But I would also say that we had a lot more fun on our movie we saw before this one over the weekend.
Oh!
The Accountant 2.
The Accountant 2 was a friggin' blast.
Yes, it was.
I actually last night watched Accountant again.
Did you?
Because I was showing Rachel it.
Yeah.
She'd never seen it. And no, The Accountant 2 is a ton of fun. I'm so glad we got that sequel. I never imagined we would get a sequel like that to The Accountant. Because The Accountant was a flick we saw in the theater.
Yeah.
And it stayed with me. Mm-hmm. I remember when I saw it came out on home to rent on digital and stuff, I remember going, I want to watch it again and checking it out again. It's a really cool concept.
A lot of fun.
The sequel is definitely way more into having fun.
Yeah.
As to where the first Accountant was all about establishing world building and the character heavily and all that.
Yeah.
This one is very much playing up
buddy cop. Buddy cop.
Frank Grillo and Ben Affleck play brothers.
John Bernthal.
Oh, I said Frank Grillo.
You said Grillo.
Yeah. They're
kind of the same person. Yeah, but
I apologize.
John
No, they're both really good actors. They're both great in action movies. And they both have at the same period of time.
We need a movie where Grillo and Bernthal play brothers.
What?
We need a movie where Bernthal and Grillo play brothers.
No, I would love that.
Yeah.
But their
It's just
chemistry,
called Gruff.
they were barely in the first accountant in the same scene.
Yeah.
But in this movie, they're together a lot.
A lot.
And their chemistry is off the charts.
Yeah.
So that's a really fun one to see.
No, it's a lot of fun.
And hella seeing it in theaters.
Great action sequences, new characters that really worked out well too, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I really, really loved I don't want to say too much, but I loved the inner workings of the company that hires Affleck. Getting to see all that stuff this time around.
Yeah, they did build the world a little bit more. It just, the stakes didn't feel quite as intense as the first one.
No.
But I think that's a sequel thing.
Yeah.
Especially with action
Well,
movies
and I think,
stuff.
honestly, too, they gave you a lot up front with the J.K. Simmons introduction scene that kind of spread the pieces out until we could put them back together a little more.
Yeah,
because it was kind of like there was multiple stories almost going on, but they all actually interconnected into one towards the end.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, The Accountant, hell of a lot of fun.
A lot of fun.
Super duper fun.
Yes.
And apparently we're getting Clown in the Cornfield like
next week.
ASAP.
Yeah, next week. And then, well, as we're recording this next week, and then the following week after Clown in the Cornfield is Final Destination. So we've got 2 big horror releases back to back in May.
Which, I mean, I get why they didn't want them to like come out the same weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, May 9th.
Final
So
Cornfield, yep. And then the 16th is Final Destination.
So, and then not only that, we also have a remake of I Know What You Did Last Summer coming up
in July,
which
yep.
is a requel apparently.
Yes, legacy, sequel, requel, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was that.
Yeah.
Until I saw the trailer for the first time tonight.
What's funny is I have, and given my memory is shit sometimes, but I have memory of Sarah Michelle Gellar signing on to the movie. But we only saw her one picture, and also she's technically dead in that series, unless she's playing a new character.
Or Ghost,
That could be.
who still ages, I
Yeah.
guess. She's not listed on the credits on Wikipedia.
Like I said, it could just be my brain. Summoning those
Poor
Bronson
brain.
stunt doubles, those cannibals and Invaders of the Lost Gold, that Harriet the Spy Blu-ray.
Final Destination's May 16th.
Yeah.
And does that Final Destination's May 16th? I got myself confused. And I Know What You Did Last Summer is in July
16th or July 15th. I can't remember.
No, it's somewhere in there. I just got curious, and then I threw my brain. July 18th.
18th, okay.
So a lot of really great horror releases. Unfortunately, it's exciting.
Yeah.
But it can be a little exhausting getting all these legacy sequels. I kind of, in some ways, feel like we're back to the 2000s when we were doing that all the time.
There's definitely a lot of content on the market right now that's legacy sequel and direct to video, not direct video, but direct to streaming sequel and whatnot. And I mean, it can be a bit exhausting, but I will say I am happy to go see these in theaters. Like
it sounds like it'll be a blast.
I haven't seen a Final Destination movie in theaters since what would have been the Final Destination, because I didn't see 5 in theaters.
Oh.
So I saw 4 in 4 is actually the only one I've seen in theaters so far, now I think about it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then in regards to I Know What You Did Last Summer, I haven't seen any of them until this one.
Oh, in the theater.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, we did a show
We say
on
we
it.
covered it. Yeah. Because you still want me to fucking watch always again. And
I know. Luckily, I have my birthday movie.
Can't wait.
So.
Can't wait. Nothing
that'll have
happens
to
in
be
that
that.
fucking movie.
Oh, we'll see if that's true.
Okay. I
like-
put it on my goddamn watch list on Letterboxd because of you. I want you to know that. Which means there's potential that in my Discord it could get assigned to me for mandatory film school, in which case I'm going to cry.
Who do I bribe to make that happen?
Good luck. I ain't telling you shit.
Oh, I'll find out. I always find out, David.
So, would you like to get into the movie that we are talking about tonight, good sir?
I suppose so. This is a film that hit me very well when I was a young man, and I watched it a lot.
Yeah.
I rented the tape a lot, and then it was on HBO, I think it was.
A lot of places, yeah.
And then eventually Nickelodeon would run it.
Yep.
But that took a few years.
Yeah.
Because this was one of the first big Nickelodeon theatrical releases.
I seem to remember the premiere on Nick when they actually aired it, and I want to say that was like 99.
Yeah, that would be right, because it was 1996 when this film, Harriet the Spy, was put out, and it's currently streaming on Paramount Plus.
That is correct.
And you can also, of course, rent it or buy it wherever you enjoy your digital rental movies.
Digital only, no Blu-ray available.
Nope. Much to your shock and chagrin.
Dude, I swear it was announced. Because we've gotten most of the Nick movies on Blu-ray at this point of this era of Nick movies.
Right.
But yeah, I'm surprised this one has not. But yeah, Harriet the Spy from 1996, 1 hour and 40 minutes, rated PG for mild language and some thematic elements. IMDb synopsis says, Harriet M. Welsh is a spy, but when her friends find her secret notebook, the tables are turned on her. Can she win them back and still keep on going with the spy business?
That is not a very good.
It's not great.
That's not a good tag or a good synopsis at all.
My synopsis: when 11-year-old Harriet decides to become a spy, spending days on the streets scoping out locals and snooping on her 6th grade classmates, Harriet's nanny Golly is suddenly fired, and she faces a harsher reality when the spy notebook is exposed.
That's a lot better, actually. Yeah.
And then Bronwyn, who is the director, Bronwyn Hughes, she actually had a synopsis on some of the behind the scenes I watched, so I used it as well. 11-year-old girl who wants to be a writer, so she decides to practice by being a spy.
That's pretty, I mean, that's like really pare it down, but it's accurate.
Yeah.
It is accurate.
Taglines.
Oh, boy.
Some kids collect insects. Others collect dolls. Harriet M. Welsh collects secrets.
That's a good tagline.
Not bad.
Especially for a kid's movie, you
Yeah.
know, like it's different rules for kids.
There's no lead she won't follow, no question she won't ask, and no way she'll ever get caught.
That's a pretty good tag. Like that would make kids want to watch it because that sounds really fun.
It's not bad, but it gives more of a reporter feel to it, and she's technically not that. Because she's not really talking to a lot of people.
What are they supposed to say? Like, there's no privacy she won't violate. Yeah. No feelings she won't hurt.
There we go.
You know, there we go. Okay, I can like that.
See the world through the eyes of a spy.
That's a good one.
And finally, On Your Case.
Now that one works with Harriet the Spy and then On Your Case.
On Your Case.
Yeah.
Director is Bronwyn Hughes on the film. She gets her start in 1994 directing the Amy Grant video for Lucky One, goes on to shoot another Amy Grant video for Building the House of Love in 94, then becomes the director on The Kids in the Hall in 1995.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Goes on to shoot Harriet the Spy in 96, directs Forces of Nature in 99, Earth Angels in 2001, Stander 2003, episodes of the L Word in 2004, Breaking Bad episodes in 08, Burn Notice, Royal Pains, White Collar, Fairly Legal, Hung, Black Box, Stalker, Teen Wolf, Damien, Legacy, Queen of the South, Hawaii Five-0, The Resident series in 2019, 13 Reasons Why, Better Call Saul, The Walking Dead, Resident Evil series for Netflix, Bodkin, and most recently in 2024, Earth Abides.
Wow, so very, very accomplished television career.
Yeah, she took off and got into TV and did not look back.
Well, it's where especially back then, that's where the money was.
It absolutely is.
And a lot of prestige TV too.
Yeah. Several writers on the film, starting off with the writer of the novel, who was Louise Fitzberg. She wrote Harriet the Spy in 1964, The Long Secret in 1965, which was a sequel. Nobody's Family is Going to Change in 1969. She gets credit on IMDb for Harriet the Spy in 96, Harriet the Spy in 2003, which was an animated series, Harriet the Spy Blog Wars 2010, The Long Secrets in 2013, Sport in 2013, Harriet Spies Again in 2019, and most recently the animated series again, Harriet the Spy in 2021. We unfortunately lost her back in 1974, November 19th, at age 46 due to a brain aneurysm.
Damn, that's too bad.
Moving on to our other writer, we also have Greg Taylor, who was a writer for the film Prancer in 1989. Goes on to do the screenplay for Jumanji in 95. The Christmas Box in 95, he gets a teleplay credit on. Harriet the Spy in 96, he gets adaptation credit on. Summer of the Monkeys, he gets screenplay credit on. The Christmas Wish, teleplay. Santa and Pete in 99. Prancer Returns in 2001. Stealing Christmas with Tony Danza in 2003. The TNT original movie, baby.
Yeah.
Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle in 2017, he writes, as well as Prancer, A Christmas Tale in 2022.
He wrote the new Jumanji, or was he just the characters?
Nope, he wrote it.
Oh, wow. That's cool. They brought him back.
Yep. Nice. Other writer is Julia Talon. She gets an adaptation credit. We also have Douglas Petrie, who gets his start in 1990 writing Clash, Rugrats in 92, Clarissa Explains It All, Ren and Stimpy in 96, Harriet the Spy in 96, Angel in 2000, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, True Calling, The 4400, The Batman in 2007, the series, CSI, Pushing Daisies, Charlie's Angels reboot in 2011, which I had no idea that there was a reboot Charlie's Angels series.
Yeah.
2011. Mm-hmm. Yeah. American Horror Story in 2013, Daredevil 2015, The Defenders in 2017, and writes for Outer Range in 2024.
Wow.
And our final writer is Teresa Rebeck. She gets her start in 1990 writing American Dreamer, goes on to write Brooklyn Bridge in 91, Dream On in 91.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
L.A. Law in 92, Harriet the Spy in 96, episodes of NYPD Blue in 95, Third Watch, Gossip, First Wave, Law and Order Criminal Intent in 2001, Catwoman with Halle Berry in 2004, Smith in 2007, Paris Criminal Investigations, Law and Order Criminal Minds in 2008, Smash, which she is the creator of in 2012, the TV series.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The musical series. Copper in 2013, she gets teleplay credit on. The Divide in 2014, Of Kings and Prophets, Walk in 2016, and most recently in 2022, The 365.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, this was the beginning. Well, not even the beginning point for a lot of people. This was kind of like the early point.
A bridge.
Bridge is a good way to put it.
Yeah. Cinematographer on the film is Francis Kenny, returning to the show because he was also the cinematographer for one of our earlier entries, as soon as I can find it, Heathers in 1988.
He shot Heathers.
Heathers. So just to give you a reminder, gets his career start with 1975's How to Say No to a Rapist and Survive.
How have I not seen that?
I don't know, but I think it's a how-to movie. Yeah. Did a lot of informational movies early on. Red Fox Video and a Plain Brown Rapper in 83. Cyndi Lauper Video for Girls Just Want to Have Fun. Heathers in 88. New Jack City. The Flash. House Party 2. Class Act. Coneheads. Ed and His Dead Mother in 93. Wayne's World 2. Jason's Lyric. Harriet the Spy in 96. Bean in 97. A Night at the Roxbury in 98. She's All That 99. Scary Movie 2000. Kingdom Come. How High from Justin to Kelly. Steel Magnolias remake in 2012. Bonnie and Clyde remake in 2013. Justified in 2014.
All right.
And SWAT series in 2017.
I checked, by the way, how to say no to a rapist and survive. That was a speaking engagement that was filmed.
Interesting.
I mean, if that's what you call entertainment, I think that's
what it is.
That's up to you.
So moving down to our cast, we have Michelle Trachtenberg, who plays Harriet Welsh in the film, who we are also doing this episode to honor as we just recently lost her. Gets her start in 1990 on Law and Order, but that's technically not where she gets her start. She got her start on commercials.
Oh, sure.
She was in a bunch of Kraft macaroni and cheese commercials, did some McDonald's commercials. A lot of the interviews I watched with her when she was promoting Harriet the Spy in 96 were her talking to Conan, Rosie O'Donnell, and they were all bringing up her commercial history, and she had a lot.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah. So 1990, Law & Order. Clarissa Explains It All in 93. All My Children in 94. The Adventures of Pete and Pete in 94. Harriet the Spy in 96. Then does Dave's World in 96. A Holiday for Love. Meet in 97. Richie Rich's Christmas Wish in 98.
Ooh.
Inspector Gadget movie in 99. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Yeah. Buffy the Vampire Slayer in 2000.
Well, that was the TV series.
Yep. Euro Trip in 2004. 6 Feet Under. Mysterious Skin. Ice Princess in 2005. Appeared on episodes of House in 2006, Beautiful Ohio in 2006.
I remember hearing about that show, but I never watched it.
Yeah, Law and Order Criminal Intent in 06, Black Xmas in 06, appears in the Fall Out Boy music video for This Ain't a Scene in 2007, Against the Current 2009, 17 Again 2009, The Superhero Squad, Cop Out in 2010, DC Showcase, Mercy, Take Me Home Tonight, Weeds, Gossip Girl, The Scribbler, Sleepy Hollow series in 2015, The Christmas Gift in 2015, the Fred Olen Ray movie.
Right, and Fred said that working with her was delightful.
Yeah.
He actually said that she was the type of person that he just assumed he wouldn't get along with.
Yeah.
And they ended up getting along very well.
Robot Chicken series in 2018, Gossip Girl remake in 2022, Unicorn Boy in 2023, and I will get into this a little more in the trivia, but also makes an appearance on the Harriet the Spy animated series in 2023.
Oh, really?
Yes. So she left us, unfortunately, February 26th of this year at age 39, and we found out recently that it was due to complications from diabetes mellitus. Mellitus.
I couldn't say.
Mellitus.
Mellitus,
yeah. But yeah, Michelle Trachtenberg, I remember seeing her in Harriet the Spy, but I'm pretty sure I saw her on Clarissa before I saw Harriet the Spy.
I knew her from Pete and Pete.
Yeah.
First, because that was, her character was very memorable in Pete and Pete. And I remember her she popped up in all the Nick shows for a hot minute. I remember her being on Stickly.
Yep.
And promoting Harriet the Spy. I remember what a big deal Harriet the Spy was. There was kind of this, as far as I remember, there was kind of this cult mentality about Harriet the Spy where it was like Nickelodeon would be like, children, you love Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
We need to rule the theater. Demand your parents take you to see Harriet the Spy.
That's how they did with Nick Magazine. So, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if that's what
I
they
was
did.
a Nick Magazine subscriber.
I would get it from our library at the school. And then I think mom let us subscribe to it for like 6 months once.
Well, their heyday was over by like 99. I mean, I never read it past then.
Nickelodeon Magazine, please.
Please. I used to go to the newsstand when I wasn't subscribed, because I was only subscribed for maybe a year, because it was pretty expensive. I remember begging to go to Barnes & Noble to get the Halloween issue.
Yeah.
Because the Halloween issue was the best one. It had all kinds of things, like they would do Mad Libs that were spooky and stuff like that.
Fold out posters.
One of the ones that always stuck with me was you were supposed to fill in the details of your own scary story.
Yeah.
And it says like he comes after, or you see this scary guy and he's standing there with a blank in his hand. And I remember laughing out loud as a kid because it was like a roll of bloody dental floss. And the other one was a paper mache machete, which just looks hilarious when you're reading it. So I remember having a lot of fun. I really am very grateful I got to be a Nickelodeon kid in the era where it came to be.
Fruition, yeah.
Because that was I had no idea. I mean, we had no idea. We were just watching TV.
Yeah.
But we had no idea that this was like the first real television made for kids that was intended to speak to kids as almost adults. We didn't realize we were getting like underground art. I didn't realize when I was a kid that like I was learning about doo-wop and stuff from watching Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of awesome things that came from it. And I'm positive that a large portion of my obsession with media, both viewing and creating, comes from how obsessed I was with Nickelodeon. I was into Nickelodeon until I couldn't anymore. Like when I was 16, 17, I would still like watch SpongeBob occasionally because that was, but like I grew up, I remember when Rugrats started.
When it premiered, yeah.
I remember because that was exciting.
Yeah.
I remember when Snick became a thing with the big orange couch. I was obsessed with Are You Afraid of the Dark, of course. Desperately obsessed with Are You Afraid of the Dark. It was such a special time. And one of those that I actually, it's not often, maybe it is, but it's not often that you get to look back at a special time like that and say like, it worked out great. I mean, like for me, like I never took for granted Nickelodeon. I was an obsessive viewer.
Yeah.
I loved it. When I watched that Orange Years documentary, it was like pushing over a pile of bricks onto me of memory. Yeah. Because there was I tuned into so much of that Nickelodeon because we stole cable.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's I just wanted to, that little tidbit is what especially makes Harriet the Spy
special for you.
Yeah, because that was such an incredible time. And not just Nickelodeon, but I mean, and when Harriet the Spy came out and all of a sudden it was like, well, Nickelodeon's now going to give you movies that you're going to really enjoy that are a big deal. I remember being a kid and being so young, I didn't understand why they didn't air it on the channel.
I got
you. You know, I didn't understand that. It's like, well, this is way more expensive and it has to have box office and this and this and this. I was just like, why don't they just show it to us? And because the two films that really were a big deal in that early time period were Harriet the Spy and Good Burger.
Good Burger. Oh, yeah.
Good Burger is a phenomenal movie. It still holds up.
Yeah.
It was a surprisingly solid coming of age movie.
Yeah.
More than anything.
And especially more than its sequel.
Well, that came of age in another way.
Yeah, it did.
But so it was a very special time. You know, eventually they got so big that they became very corporate. It was still, you know, for kids and everything, but it just didn't have that same vibe.
Well, have you seen the picture of what used to be like the Nick Zone at Universal Studios versus what it is now? And it's just like the childhood died entirely.
All I wanted in the world was to go to Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida and see Nickelodeon.
And get slimed.
Yeah. We did have a Nickelodeon. I think I've told you the story. We had a Nickelodeon.
The event.
Yeah. Well, we entered actually my friend Jamie entered Nickelodeon Takes Over Your School.
Yeah.
But we came in third.
Yeah.
So we got an assembly with Nickelodeon stuff and they pied a bunch of teachers. They slimed our principal. And that was in elementary school.
Yeah.
That was pretty memorable.
I would say.
It was pretty dope. But, but we didn't get the full Nick Takes Over Your School where they take up your whole day.
Bring
and
the entire obstacle course.
And they bring all the celebrities and they just go, caca cuckoo.
Yeah.
But yeah, Nickelodeon, it's impossible to explain it. Because I remember there being basically almost nothing to watch.
Yeah.
And then there was more Nickelodeon and more Nickelodeon. I remember when Nick Jr. I would wait for Nick Jr. to end during the summer so I could start watching my Nickelodeon. I was going crazy for it. So yeah, so Harriet the Spy brings up a lot of memories, but then on top of all of that, I love it.
Yeah.
I loved it then. I still am very fond of it to this day. So I don't know what prefaced me saying all that, but I needed to get that out.
That's
because
fair.
Harriet the Spy really is a special little movie about growing up, being a kid, being curious, having interests, and learning to be a better person. That's like the entire point of Harriet the Spy is that you're a child, you're becoming an adult, and you need to do it well, and you need to learn from your mistakes.
So moving on through our cast, we also have Rosie O'Donnell, who plays old Golly. She gets her start in 1981 with Give Me a Break. Goes on to be Stand By Your Man in 92, A League of Their Own in 92. Then does Beverly Hills 90210 in 92, Sleepless in Seattle in 93, Another Stakeout in 93, which is a movie I love. I've seen Another Stakeout so many goddamn times.
I've only seen Stakeout.
You've only seen Stakeout? Stakeout's the raunchier of the two for sure.
Right.
Fatal Instinct in 93, Car 54, Where Are You in 94, I'll Do Anything in 94, Now and Then in 95, The Larry Sanders Show in 95, Beautiful Girls in 96, which is also the same year as Harriet the Spy, and also the same year that the Rosie O'Donnell Show starts, 1996 to 2001.
Yeah, and that was a big deal for a minute. That was
a very big deal for a minute, yeah.
And Rosie O'Donnell was very loved by the Nickelodeon audience. She used to do guest appearances on everything.
Then we also have All My Children in 96, Very Brady sequel in 96, The Nanny, Twilight of the Gods, Wide Awake, Murphy Brown, Ally McBeal, Tarzan, Third Watch, The Practice, Flintstones Viva Rock Vegas, Spin City, Will and Grace, Riding the Bus with My Sister, Queer as Folk.
Man, did you ever see Riding the Bus with My Sister?
Oh, yes.
There's tons to laugh at and make fun of because it was very broad.
Yeah.
But it was actually a good film.
Absolutely. It's absolutely a good film.
I always liked that movie, but yeah, that's one of those films you can clip just about any of it out of context and you have a laugh riot on your hands.
She was also, I actually skipped over something. So she did I'll Do Anything in 94, The Flintstones in 94, Ren and Stimpy Show, Exit to Eden. Then we get to Larry Sanders Show.
I'm pretty sure that the Flintstones movie was what made her insanely in with Nickelodeon.
League of Their Own was the first one. Flintstones got her.
Oh, no, I'm talking about with the kids.
With
Nickelodeon.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Because she was I think that's why we saw her so much as she was promoting the Flintstones movie originally.
It was funny, too, because one of the interviews was, like I said, Michelle Trachtenberg on the Rosie O'Donnell Show, and she was saying like the first thing that she saw Rosie in was A League of Their Own, and that she's watched it a bunch.
It's a great movie.
Oh, yeah.
Phenomenal movie.
So yeah, Ride Bless My Sister in 2005, Queer as Folk, Nip Tuck, American, Drop Dead Diva, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Web Therapy, Happily Divorced, Pitch Perfect 2, Empire, Mom, American Dad, Smilf, Russian Doll, League of Their Own remake in 2022, and Just Like That in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, she's definitely eased up on movie roles.
She's gone a lot more into her stand-ups and a lot of her. She's even doing some spoken word stuff nowadays.
And being a pundit.
Yeah, very much so.
So I think didn't she just move to Ireland?
I think she threatened to. I don't know if she actually did.
I know she moved.
Okay.
I think it was to Ireland, but no, she's gone.
Yeah. Gregory Smith, who plays Sport in the film, gets his start in 1991 on The Commish, The Hat Squad in 92, Street Justice in 93, Highlander series in 94, Andre in 94, Are You Afraid of the Dark in 95, The Outer Limits, Big Bully, then does Harriet the Spy in 96, The Climb, Meet, Krippendorf's Tribe in 98, which is a movie you cannot make today.
I haven't thought of that movie.
Yeah.
I want to rewatch Krippendorf's Tribe.
It's readily available. You can find it. For those who are not aware, in 98, Richard Dreyfuss starred in a film called Krippendorf's Tribe where he plays a,
anthropologist.
Anthropologist, thank you. I couldn't think of it. That basically fakes an African tribe.
He concocts
this whole scheme,
but then he doesn't expect people to care so much that they want to see
and
the
then
tribe.
They do, yeah.
So he has to start faking it. It's
as being the tribal person.
Richard Dreyfuss and Jenna Elfman.
Yep.
Both honestly at their best.
Oh yeah.
You can only rent it. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not streaming for free anywhere.
So he does Gryffindor's Tribe in 98. Then he also does one of my favorite movies in 98, Small Soldiers.
I love Small Soldiers.
Me too. The Patriot in 2000, American Outlaws 2001, Touched by an Angel, Wrinkle in Time, Kids in America, Everwood, Boot Camp, which is Boot Camp, if you haven't seen, is a great little thriller that him and Mila Kunis did. It's about those adjustment camps for teens that they send a bunch of teens to the island and try to make them better people, but turns out they're kind of taking advantage. Eli Stone, 2009, Fakers, Hobo with a Shotgun in 2011, Dreamhouse in 2011, Franklin and Bash in 2013, but in 2012, he gets to start as a director on Rookie Blue, then directs Shadowhunters, Saving Hope, Unspeakable, episodes of Arrow, episodes of The Flash, DC Legends of Tomorrow, Supergirl, Katie Keene, Riverdale, and most recently has shot episodes of Superman and Lois as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I had no idea he was still working so much. And his character, Sport, is probably my favorite character in the film, and was when I was a kid as well.
So what was your first time watching Harriet the Spy?
So I'm almost positive that we went to the theater to see Harriet the Spy, because I remember just the friggin' deluge on Nickelodeon of telling you to go see it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure my mother would have taken me. Actually, I bet you I should text her later about it. I bet she loved that movie because she loved Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah.
And see, it's all coming back the more I think about it, because I remember how much she loved Rosie O'Donnell. It was kind of like I could get mom to, like, my mom wanted to watch True Lies just because she loved Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
So I remember that, and I remember renting it again and again and again and again on VHS tape.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was smack dab in the middle. I would have been 10 years old, 11 years old. And it was just one of those movies. I remember it was one of the first films that I got very emotional during, because I was a very bullied child.
Yeah.
And this film isn't just about, being the nerd or getting bullied. It's about all of it. It's about becoming the bully. It's about all kinds of important things that are complicated for children. And I like that. I like that, especially in that era, they weren't afraid to give kids a dose of reality. I also love how there was a habit in the 80s and 90s to have people get bullied, but then that bully becomes their best friend. Because that really did happen in school too. Somebody would be picking on you, but then all of a sudden they're just around a lot. And then you're sitting at lunch together and now you're friends.
Or you've hired them as your bodyguard.
Yeah.
Like the movie My Bodyguard.
Exactly. Or you end up, showering at Springwood High School, and then the coach, he hangs out at leather bars and stuff. And
or you're hanging out showering in Tough Turf, where you just get beaten with locks inside of socks.
Just pieces of fish and socks?
Locks inside of socks.
But no. So yeah, it was a very formidable movie for me. And that's kind of like, I'm still wrapping my head around it. It's like there are certain movies that when I revisit them, I'm shocked how much of an impact they had on me.
Absolutely.
Like when we rewatched, it's one of our longest episodes that we'd ever done, when we rewatched, Wet Hot American Summer. I couldn't believe how influential that had been on me.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen it in almost 20 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, no, this movie affected what I thought was funny my entire life.
Yeah.
So, but what about you, Dave?
I distinctly cannot remember how I first saw it. I just remember that it was either we had rented it, or I have a memory of my cousin having the orange VHS.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know if it was my cousin that brought it over to my grandma's house, or if we had rented it or whatnot, but I know myself, my sister, my mom all eventually saw it together. And it was just one of those movies that, along with Hocus Pocus and George of the Jungle, and I'm trying to think of some other one, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, that we would rent a lot. This is one that would always be oh, well, what do you kids want to rent tonight? And then Erica would usually throw out Harriet the Spy, or even I would, and we rented it a lot growing up. And also it played TV a lot.
Yeah.
Played Nick a lot as well. So, I mean, it was one that I really took in probably more than I realized, but it wasn't really until I revisited it in college that I saw what a deep movie it was for a childhood psyche, let alone just the experience.
Yeah, and I mean it's not a farce. It is a kid's movie.
It's a kid's movie,
no doubt,
and it's a kid's power. It's a kid power movie that doesn't go in the extremity of the kids defeat the adults, I guess is the best way to put it. There's no like big bad adult boss in this movie. They're all basically at each other at some point.
Yeah, it's not like Matilda.
Yeah,
or. I mean, it's not Let's Save the Rec Center.
Yeah, it's not heavyweights.
That kind of
it's not Camp Nowhere. It's not anything that like it
bushwhacked.
Yeah, it's kids are being kids, and in doing so, having to face everything that a kid would normally face.
Well, and they amped up looking at how kids' lives are different.
Yeah,
that's why I really appreciated Sport.
Yeah.
Because he had a very different life than everybody around him.
It felt very live action Hey Arnold on this watch to me. Just from the environment of the city and the characters, it felt very of that feeling, which I mean, funny enough, I'll talk about in the trivia a little bit, but I believe it was either the theatrical like experience included the pilot episode of Hey Arnold when you went to go see it in theaters.
Really?
That's what some of the trivia says. Yeah.
I mean, that could very well be.
Yeah.
It's Hey Arnold's an interesting element of Nickelodeon as well, because if you look at when it came out right when kids like me who had been watching from the start were becoming teenagers. And all of a sudden there was this very good teenager show to kind of fill the gap when Doug was gone.
Yeah.
Because Doug was a phenomenal show.
Absolutely.
That really like directly helped me handle a lot of my insecurities and worries.
Yeah.
Like I still think back to Doug Yancey Funny, and I'm like, man, I'm so glad I had him around to like make the mistakes first and look like a dork. And then, because half those shows would just be like, you're a dork and people like you for it.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, what?
Yeah.
But I'm afraid of people. It's like, no. They like you.
Yeah. So would you like to get into it?
Into what?
Into Harriet the Spy.
Oh, well, Hell's Bells and Taco Shells.
So we open with basically a view of every single piece of equipment that is in Harriet's Spy Belt over the credits, which I love the credits for one, because you got a nice little jazzy beat to it. You've got some animations along with it.
Jazzy. I'd call it funk.
Funk, yeah. Funk.
Yeah, I would go far. I would say funk.
Sorry, I'm thinking of Hey Arnold still.
Well, I mean, yeah, Hey Arnold's, more jazz than funk. Who did the music, by the way?
Good question.
Oh, I thought for sure you were going to cover that one.
Nope, that is not one I tackled.
I get it. You don't like the music. That's okay.
That's totally what it is.
Yeah, I understand.
That's totally
you hate
what
it.
is. It's not like I was watching hours of interviews on YouTube of the show.
No, I meant you hate the music. I didn't say you hate the movie.
Jamshed Sharifi? Jamshed Sharifi?
Jamshed Sharifi.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Composer for a lot. Holy shit. Music department for Hard Boiled in 1992.
No, this guy has a lot
Rugrats movie, Thomas Crown Affair, Rugrats in Paris, Down to Earth, Clock Stoppers. Wow. So that's just the music department. Composer-wise,
most of those are also him as a composer.
Yeah, Muppets in Space, Down to Earth, Clock Stoppers, yeah.
Wow.
Not as big as resume as I thought, but a pretty damn good resume no matter what.
Yeah, well, it looks like he did a lot of TV.
Yeah.
And TV gets tricky. Nowadays, composers in TV get a lot more direct credit.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming that opening theme was done by him.
I would imagine
and
so.
it is great.
It's great. Yeah.
It was banging my surround system. Like it was like thumping my living room.
I can believe that. So after we get through the credits, we get a narration from Harriet as she introduces herself as Harriet M. Well. She's 11 years old and she's a spy. And we see her spying as she's on a street corner, hiding behind a table of some items, looking at people, a man with tattoos. We see a kid that's on a leash and she comments about the child on the leash. And also while this is happening, she also witnesses a robbery occur because an old woman is passing and a man steals her wallet.
Yeah. And it should be mentioned, when this movie came out, like they sold spy kits.
Oh yeah.
And like every kid wanted a pair of binoculars. Every kid wanted a notebook.
She's got the notebook. She's got the binoculars. She's got her gloves. She's got a magnifying glass. She's got a flashlight. I mean, she's got a little bit of everything in that spy belt.
No, and that's such a kid thing to give us that. Like it was on par with everybody wanting the talk boy.
Yeah.
From Home Alone 2.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted that. Everybody wanted their spy kit. Harriet the Spy was so imitable, and not just for girls. Mm-hmm. That's the other thing. Like sometimes I understand that sometimes it feels good to be directly represented.
Yeah.
To see somebody like you exactly.
Yeah.
But I would watch Harriet the Spy and be like, I want to be like Harriet the Spy.
Yeah.
And Harriet the Spy was a little girl. I was a little boy.
Yeah.
You know,
Nothing wrong with that.
No. And that's my point. It's like, I don't think it's a stretch.
No.
Because it's like, if you tell a good enough story, everybody's going to want to be
latch onto
in
it.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So not only does she see the crime occur, so the thief starts running towards her, she stands up alerting him, and he runs right into a bunch, and I mean a bunch of eggs.
Yeah. Like $1.8 million worth of eggs in today's
At this point,
money.
yeah. And the thing I love about it, too, is we don't see the cops take him or anything that happens.
Oh, no,
after
that was vigilante justice.
Yeah.
He was hung in the back of the back lot of,
In the back lot.
that Chinese restaurant.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So,
You don't mess with the triads, baby.
So we cut over to her at her school. We meet her friends Sport and Jeannie. They all have this matching tattoo that they put on their feet, and what is the tattoo? I can't remember.
It's like a
figure.
Yeah, it's like a stick man.
Yeah, like a
kind of
stick man.
special stick man.
And they have their little swearing to it of nobody knows about the tattoo or else death to all of them, basically.
Yeah, it was a swift and painful death, which
Yeah.
is very funny.
Yeah.
Because swift and painful don't really go together. Swift would mean lacking pain.
Yeah.
But a swift and painful death. Yeah, they draw this tattoo on their feet and then push their feet together to copy the
cement it,
tattoo.
yeah.
And they say that it's because they wanted to be blood brothers, but this is way less painful.
Way less painful.
Which was so, for a kid in that era, so identifiable
Yeah.
because you had seen Stand By Me.
Mhm.
You had seen, if you were like me, you had seen it.
Well, have we
You know,
talked
you'd
about
seen
the
that
fact
stuff.
that, like, how stupid it is to cut across your palm when you do a blood brother?
That has to have come up. Well, I think that's something that drives me crazy when, like, it's one thing if you cut your palm because you're going to shake hands.
Yeah.
Okay. But like every horror movie, when they have to get blood, they always cut their palm. I'm like, yeah, cut where you'll feel it for a month.
Yeah.
No, like cut the side of your arm.
Hit the tip
Like,
of your finger.
And then, no, because you use your fingers. You cut the side of your arm, then just put a Band-Aid on it.
Fair.
You'll like barely notice it's there.
Yeah, fair.
But also just don't cut yourself.
Yeah, there's that
like,
too.
I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
But kids, don't cut yourself.
Lifestyle coach.
As your lifestyle coach, I'm telling you, just don't cut yourself.
The one that always gets me the more I watch it is It Chapter 1, the final one, that when they do the blood brother oath on that. Like, they are really taking that bottle and just slice.
And the reactions are like they are.
Oh,
too,
yeah.
though. It's not like some movies where like they cut their wrist or
Yeah.
their arm or their hand or whatever, and they just go whatever.
Yeah.
What was it? I was just watching something. I've been rewatching Stan Against Evil, and there's an episode where these goth kids come to town to try and summon a whatever.
Yeah.
And when the kid cuts his palm, he goes, ow, 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 ow. Like when he does it, it killed me.
That's funny.
Just ow, 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 ow.
So while they're also at school, Harriet lives in New York City and attends school with, like I said, Sport and Jeannie. And that is when we also get a rounding of the classmates that are along with her as well. I don't have all their names, but mean,
it's an incredible cast of characters, from snobby kind of entitled girl,
which is
and
Marion.
Marion, her best friend.
Yeah, Marion Hawthorne is the enemy. Basically, no one likes her, but they all are friends with her. Basically,
yeah, and they're ripping into her because they say like when Marion Hawthorne gets out of her car to come in, they're like, oh, it's happening, and they all pretend they're gonna vomit.
Yeah. But we also see the kid with purple socks. We see one girl that one of my favorite lines is she took last summer and decided to grow boobs as she leans
everybody
over.
likes her because she decided. Well, my favorite thing about it is they say grow boobs, but then she drops something and leans over.
Yeah.
The reason that scene made me laugh out loud as an adult was the way she bends to get it. You wouldn't see
him.
You wouldn't see her chest even a little bit.
No.
I mean, so that made it extra funny, but also like, every boy is going to give her attention.
Yeah, so you've got that. You've got one girl that's obsessed with a pop star that she says she always looks like she's about to cry. I wish somebody would kick her and get it over with. One girl that says looks like her face is pinched. So her spying is also a lot of gossiping on these people that she's around every day.
And she's saying a lot of things that are very borderline.
Yeah.
And I've had friends with kids, especially toward that age, who have that like period of being kind of mean.
Yeah.
Because they have to kind of realize, hopefully, God willing, that you need to be empathetic, that not everybody has an easy life, not everybody has an easy day. Because, for all of Harriet's situation, I mean, she has two parents at home who seem to love each other quite a bit, but her father makes a lot of money.
Very busy.
It's stressful.
Yeah.
He makes a lot of money because he's working really, really hard.
Yeah.
And so she has some great things, but also you could see why she would want to like bury herself in these activities because there's not a lot at home other than who we'll talk about in a second.
And that's the thing is, old Golly is her grounding. That's the one that reminds her that people are people and situations and all this stuff. And I mean, Rosie O'Donnell in this role, outstanding.
No, she's perfect. A perfect choice for it too, because, and this is not anything against Rosie, but Rosie's very average looking.
Yeah.
But she has charisma.
Yes.
That's why she's built such a good career.
Yeah.
But she's very average looking. So you look at her and you wouldn't think much.
Yeah.
But then she's got this way about her in this film where everything she says is a gem.
Mm-hmm.
And I love where she'll just take the kids to do something, because
that's my favorite. Yeah. So
after we get to know the kids,
Yeah.
we move on to that. And basically she's hanging out with Sport and what was the other
Jeannie.
friends? And Jeannie. And they're just sitting on the stoop or whatever.
Yeah.
And Rosie O'Donnell's character shows up and she's just like, we'll be back before dinner.
Yeah,
And just
I'll
takes
have
them
you guys
somewhere.
home before dinner. Your parents are not going to be home tonight, so I'm taking care of you. And yeah, they go to this artist's house, and it's this backyard where this woman has been creating for God knows how long. And it's just...
And to make sure the context is there, she's an au pair.
Yeah.
She's the nanny or what have you, the almost live-in babysitter
basically.
to Harriet.
Yeah, and she takes them to this friend's house that is an artist, and it's basically an area that the kids can have fun. They're drumming on the pieces of art. There's things that they can blow bubbles with, like all kinds of stuff that you would want to do.
They're drinking a big glass bottle of Sprite or whatever and spitting at each other and stuff.
Again, my favorite, because not only does she take it down and like, shake it up and have them drink out of it, but tells them to shout out what they want the most. And Jeannie wants to, win an award for her science. Sport, I think, wants to be able to like take care of his dad and whatnot. And then Harriet wants to see everything and know everything. And then also like tries to chug the bottle as best she can, but can't do it.
Yeah. And this is a great sequence because they're really being kids. They're jumping around. They're wrestling around. They're spitting soda at each other and laughing uncontrollably.
Yeah.
The chemistry with the kids is really great in this one, and you really believe that they're best friends.
Yeah,
it's super, super nice. And Harriet is obviously very assertive.
Yeah,
but was it Jeannie? Jeannie. Okay, I did remember.
Yep.
Jeannie is the aggressive friend. She's the one who's like quick to get in a fight.
One of my favorite lines from her is when she's talking about basically poisoning Marion, about putting it into a soda can that would make her insides like basically come outside.
Yeah,
and like acts it out too.
Because she's an amateur chemist at home. She's messing with her easy bake oven and stuff, making all these concoctions, growing germs and amoebas. And Sport is a lot more reserved.
Yeah.
He's still very playful, but you can tell that he's really only able to be that way with his friends.
Yeah.
Because otherwise he's just not comfortable.
Janie, not Jeannie. My
Janie.
apologies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Janie.
Yeah, and also Sport is, we'll find out a little later on, but he's got a lot of responsibilities that is the main focus of his story by far.
No, in many ways he's parenting his father.
Exactly.
And we don't know where his mother is, so we assume that she's not in the picture at all.
Yeah.
Probably passed away.
And going back to Marion Hawthorne, she is the snobby classmate, like I said, that a lot of people do not like, but everybody kind of tries to get along with because she's the class president, which means she also runs the newspaper. So if you're on her good graces, you're safe.
Well, and something worth mentioning about these kids, because a lot of them don't have, the kid with the purple socks, the whatever. I mean, she says some really mean things. She was like, if I was known as the kid with the purple socks, I would hang myself.
Oof.
My point, though, is what do almost all of these kids' descriptions have in common in her diary or her spy book? They're caricatures.
Yeah.
They're not fully formed people.
No.
They're a little taste and then her commentary.
Yeah.
And then moving on.
Well, and even the same thing when she sees the kid on the leash, she says, if my parents ever did that, I'd trade them in.
Yeah, I'd trade them in. And she's got that sassiness. She wants to be a writer.
Yeah.
And it's clear she's going to be able to. The reason she's a spy is she was told, if you're going to be a writer, you should start right now.
Yeah.
Writing everything you can.
And we see the people that she spies on. She's got some regulars, which include one guy, I can't think of his name, but he's got all the cats and he builds these immaculate birdhouses. But when I say all the cats, he's got like 30 cats I counted in the one scene.
Yeah. No, and he's
hiding from the health department as well.
Yeah, trying to hide that he has all these cats because they'll take them away if they find out. She's spying on people at the Chinese grocery store, including
specifically the son, Johnny, who is more American of the family and has a date and wants to borrow the car, which may come back.
And wears like a leather jacket. Being cool.
You know who he reminded me of was, do you remember the episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark with the Chinese, the cookies that...
Fortune cookies.
Fortune cookies, yeah, where he becomes the artist and everything. He has like 3 of them in the opens. That's what that whole setting reminded me of.
I could see that, yeah. And she's seeing people when they don't know they're being watched.
Being watched, yeah.
Which is how you get people at their most honest.
Yeah.
Is when they don't know they're being watched.
Which brings us to a great moment in the movie where Harriet's parents are going out. So Golly is or wait, actually, let me back up a little bit because I want to really go on Golly and Harriet's relationship, because there's one scene in particular where Harriet's taking a bath and she hears her parents fighting. And Golly comes in, shuts the door, and she's like, "Hey, I was listening to that." And she's like, "Yeah, well, I'm an opera singer, or I want to be an opera singer, but I can't, so I don't." Yeah. And I love that line.
No, it's really good.
And she basically says, what's going on down there has nothing to do with you, so, don't involve yourself in it. Your dad just has a very high-strung job. What's high-strung? Explains all this to her, and also is very nurturing about the fact that, you're a good kid. That has nothing to do with you. Don't involve yourself in that. It's very nurturing.
It's best to let that be.
Yeah.
No, and she's a great influence on Harriet, and a really good example of how when adults take an interest in kids, the kids tend to do better.
Yeah, because we even see one of my favorite, again, I don't keep saying one of my favorites. There's a lot in this movie, though. But to get her out of the tub, she tells her there's a water bug, so she gets up all...
She jumps, she slaps the towel
on her, goes downstairs, and her mom's like, "You want me to tuck you in?" And she's like, "No, Golly can do it." And they go back and forth with this little saying from Alice in Wonderland with the story of the walrus and the... oysters, I think, or I can't remember.
Something along those lines. Yeah, but it was a Lewis Carroll thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, we see that their relationship is very close, and she even comes to her that night and says, "Will you always be here?" And she's like, "Well, at some point I'll have to leave, because you're getting older and whatnot, but, that day is not today." That cuts us into the next day, or as we're supposed to see it as. And Golly is making dinner, and Harriet is, asking her what she's making. She's making bratwurst. We also hear a knock at the door, and Harriet's like, "I'll get it." And she opens the door to see somebody that we've already seen in the movie, which is a guy that she calls the something thief.
The fruit thief.
Fruit thief, yeah. Because she saw this guy at the Chinese restaurant, and he took vegetables and fruits and took them out the door, but we don't see what he's doing with them. They're just not in his hands when he comes back.
It looks like he's stealing.
Looks like he's stealing them, yeah. It looks like he's stocking them away. So she's like, fruit thief, so immediately doesn't like this guy.
Well, and, she's having to compete for Golly's attention.
Yeah.
And this guy could not be nicer and more welcoming and more friendly to Harriet. And that's where we get the first example of more than a caricature.
Yeah.
Because as they're talking, after he makes Harriet laugh a few times and stuff.
They have a staring contest. He breaks her down because at first she's just like, she's even kind of interrogating him a little bit. And he picks up on it, plays with her, and then they're completely good.
Well, and then he tells her about how at one time he was very rich, and he owned a company, and he was constantly working, he was constantly stressed, he was constantly miserable, and one day he got up and he told his wife, and Harriet's like,
fresh start.
His wife, he's like, I'm gonna start fresh, and I'd like, if you want to, you should come with me. And then he's like,
she left me.
And she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." He's like, "No, I mean, it was her choice. She had to do what she had to do." And now we find out he's a delivery boy.
Yeah, he's a delivery boy.
Which is the joke she makes. She's like, "Don't you think you should be a delivery man by now?" But he's like, "I'm a delivery boy. I may not make a lot of money, but I'm happy."
Yeah, and that also gives Golly to speak up and basically mind Harriet of her manners. Also, while doing so, Golly realizes that she's burned her bratwurst that she was making, and now they have to go out for dinner.
Well, and that's his idea. He's like, "That's just an excuse for us to go out and have a nice meal together."
Yeah.
And a movie. And that makes Harriet amped.
Mata Hari, mind you, too.
Yeah.
What a movie for Harriet to go see.
No, it makes perfect sense that Harriet would watch Mata Hari.
So they go to see Mata Hari. They have a great time. They're fake sword fighting outside of the theater. But naturally, with dinner and a movie, they come back late, and mom and dad are home now and freaking out.
And they were home earlier than normal.
Yeah, and freaking out because there's no note, nobody called them, and Harriet's missing. So they pull up, and her mom's like, "What are you thinking, Golly? You didn't do anything. This is the last straw. You're fired."
And there was already, the only thing that shocked me when I was rewatching this was how little Golly's actually in the movie.
Yeah,
because there, even in the little bit that she's in, you see that there's a jealousy of Harriet's mother, especially when she turns down being tucked in by her own mother because Golly's here.
Yeah.
And the thing I really love about the scene is it's very obvious when the mother says you're fired that she's not fired.
Yeah.
Because the dad is kind of like, well, and then Golly says, you're right.
You're right.
I think my time here has run its course.
Yeah.
And I should be going. And even the mom goes, what?
Yeah. Well, even Harriet starts freaking out. And one of the things I love about having the captions on is there's some things that you can briefly hear. And one of the ones is this, where like you can hear her mom being like, I was mad. Like, you don't have to leave. And she's like, no, like, you're right. Like, Harriet's getting older and this is this will be good for her. And I think it's time. And, I've got plans that I want to do. So the next day she's waiting for the bus and is sitting, and Harriet comes out and the rain's coming down. And she's just like, no, Harriet, you it's okay to cry, but I will not stand any laughter.
Oh, my favorite moment. Yeah. Cause Harriet's looking sad. She's like, it's okay if you need to cry, but I will not allow any laughter. Do not laugh, young lady. And so Harriet starts laughing. Really wonderful moment and a wonderful just example of dealing with children.
Yeah, and at this point too, Golly encourages Harriet not to give up on her love of spying on people and observing people and basically staying true to your nature. And that's what I've always really taken heart from Golly is even though she sees that something in this kid may not progress well with the way that it's going, she still encourages her to do it because she knows that that's the only way she's going to find out the hard side of it too.
Yeah. No, it's all so, it works so well.
Yeah.
And it's aged, in my opinion, very well.
Very well. And it even promises to buy her first book, the signed copy of Harriet's first novel. So like she's encouraging her to be a writer. So naturally, Harriet gets depressed and she starts spying on people more. This leads her into the mansion of the famous Agatha Plummer.
Played by Eartha Kitt.
Yes.
One of the original Catwomen.
Yes. And she is so eccentric as ever, as always in this movie, sitting in bed, talking on the phone. She's got a housekeeper. She's got a little dog.
And she's going on this incredible tirade on the phone about the secret to everlasting life is never getting out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
And as she says that, her maid or whatever is bringing her things.
And Harriet by this point is literally snuck into her house and is hiding in a dumbwaiter. The dog's alerted. And basically ends up getting found out because the maid goes over to the dumbwaiter, opens it, and that causes both of them to scream. And Harriet's completely thrown out of the house.
Well, yeah. I mean, she's lucky they didn't call the police.
She's very lucky they didn't call the police.
Yeah, and as she's walking home, she's just repeating over, a good spy never gets caught. A good spy never gets caught.
Yeah.
And that was a scary moment. I remember as a kid watching that because they're selling the fun idea of being a spy like Harriet.
Yeah.
But what the movie's really about is much more than that. And I remember that moment when Harriet gets caught, me being like, like as a kid, because I didn't want Harriet to get caught. I wanted Harriet to just keep being a spy because being a spy seems awesome.
Yeah. And so also by this point, she's also went back to see the guy with the cats. He unfortunately got caught by the health department.
And that's heartbreaking. They just take the cats away in a big sack.
And we didn't talk about it much with his scene because, there's so much to talk about in this movie, but his scene specifically, like he's singing his tunes, he's feeding all the cats a plate at a time, working on these birdhouses, and just so happy when she goes back. Of course, he's saddened. He has I think one cat total that he
has none at that point.
Okay.
No, they reveal later on that he snuck one. He kept one.
Yeah. And then also we see that Johnny did in fact borrow the van without asking and crashed it. And his family is extremely pissed now because the delivery van is totaled.
Yeah. Not ideal.
Not ideal. So all this stuff is happening and she's also trying to reconnect with her friends. She goes and sees Sport. We find out that his dad is in a creative slump with the book he's writing.
Well, his dad is what they call a starving artist, is their reference in the movie.
Yeah.
And we find out that Sport is basically taking care of his father as his father is failing to make much money to make ends meet.
Yeah.
They're struggling all the time. Sport is cooking dinner for his father, cleaning the house for his father.
Harriet saves his ass by saying that he dropped $1 when she sees him in
he's at the store and he's buying bread and milk.
Yeah. And he's short.
And he doesn't have enough money. So Harriet walks in and just says, "Oh, I saw you drop this $1 when I came in."
Yeah.
Which is I get chills thinking about it because that's such a sweet. And it's a really good example of Harriet starting to grow because what did she do? She didn't just help him. She did something that would allow him to keep his dignity.
Yeah.
And that's something that takes a lot of maturity to understand that, like, I'm not here to embarrass you. I'm just here to help you.
Yeah.
Because you're my friend.
Yeah. And that also plays into the fact she goes to visit Janie, and there's a whole scene with Janie, his mom, coming in and seeing that like one of her bras is being used for an experiment with mold. It burst on her. It doesn't go well. Harriet leaves, and Janie's getting yelled at by her mother. But at the same time, we also get more monologue from Harriet, basically saying, I can't tell if Janie's a genius or if she's just like a weirdo.
Yeah, I can't tell. Well, she literally says, I can't tell if Janie's going to be like a genius, this thing, or end up
nuts.
in prison.
Yeah.
A crazy person and end up in prison or whatever.
I mean, she has talked about poisoning people twice in the movie by this point.
Well, I mean, what kid doesn't dabble a little bit in poisoning?
But yeah, this all leads to a scene where the kids are, Harriet basically gives up spying for a bit because she sees the sadness that it has on effect, and also getting caught at Agatha's just kind of turns her away. So she decides to give up spying for a little bit and spend an afternoon playing with the kids. And that all leads to this beautiful scene at the park where they're playing tag.
Well, and I want to mention one thing real quick that was easy to miss because so much is going on.
Yeah.
Right before this, she got caught spying on Sport.
Yo, that's right. Yeah.
Because she was standing on this ridiculous pile of stuff to look in. But what she saw was, while, yes, the household is not perfect.
Yeah.
Sport has a lot of expectations on him. His father is not able to support him as well as he'd like.
Yeah.
They love the hell out of each other.
Yeah, they do.
And at one point, Sport puts on a
chicken.
Well, no, it was a glove.
Glove, yeah.
And his dad starts making this joke, and they're like singing about him being a chicken, and like picks him up and swings him around. It's a really sweet moment, though, and I think that's so important to establish that Sport's dad is not just like a lazy drunk or something. Sport's dad is struggling to try and stay true to himself and take care of his son.
Do we ever hear about Mom?
We never hear a word about her.
I didn't think so.
I would assume that she's probably passed away because there's no child support. There's nothing.
Yeah.
I just got that vibe.
Yeah.
And his dad clearly is as in as he can be. And his son is trying to pick up the slack because he loves his dad too.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to mention that really quick because that really helps set the stage for what's really going on with Sport.
Well, and it also gives us a chance to bring up something that's going to come back here in a little bit, where Sport does all the chores of the house, and at one point is wearing a maid's outfit as he's cleaning, and Harriet ends up taking a picture of him.
Yeah.
Which is just between friends, right?
Yeah.
No one's going to see it.
When they catch her spying, they just laugh it off.
Yeah.
They're just kind of like, well, because he knows Harriet's a spy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now the tag scene is
the tag
big deal,
scene. They're having a great fun. The kids are playing, but as this is going on, Harriet lets down her guard and leaves her notebook unattended, and it just so happens that Marion Hawthorne finds it,
and she begins reading through it, sharing some of Harriet's cruel opinions of everybody.
And everybody's we're hearing this, and the kids are having the effects to it. Like the boy in the socks hearing about
he tries to hide his socks. Yeah, I'd hang myself if I was known for my
girl with the pinched
socks.
face like puts her face down. Like, I mean, we're just seeing all this take
the girl
effect.
that she said just grew breasts just laughed.
Yeah. And then we get to, Marion is still reading, and that's when Janie is like, well, how about, I beat it out of you. And that point, she's like, well, why don't you want to hear what she says about you?
Yeah, but then she, and this is also the big thing, is Marion Hawthorne doesn't just read, she reads the mean parts only.
Yeah.
Not that the nice parts were super nice, but she reads only the mean parts.
Yep.
And her tone of voice makes it so much worse. She says she thinks you'll end up being a crazy person.
Yeah. Well, no, Janie reads it.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, but she reads out loud a bunch of them.
She reads out loud a bunch of them, yeah. But Janie actually, because she's like, here, because she holds it up to her, and that's when she takes it, and she's just like, will she be a genius or end up in jail? And then Sport, I don't even think really hears much except for the thing about him with the money. That's
well, what she said that would hurt Sport because it wasn't filtered was, and because she's a child.
Yeah.
Is I don't understand why Sport's dad just can't get a better job, a job to take better care of him.
Sport's like, I have to go home. It's spaghetti night.
Oh, that broke my heart.
Holy shit. Yeah. Like there's so many sad moments of this scene. It's critical.
Yeah. He literally just goes, I have to go. It's spaghetti night. I've got to make spaghetti. I can't be here. Yeah. And he just leaves. And it's so sad.
And so by this point, Marion puts down the law, and she's just like, you go sit over there till we figure out what to do with you. And then just keeps
Which
reading.
is a hell of a line, until we figure out what to do with you.
Yeah. So this inspires Marion to have the Spy Catcher Club, and basically has every single kid that's not Harriet join it. Harriet's life becomes a living hell. She's on the bench one day reading or writing, and all the kids surround her, banging on trash can lids. They torment her nonstop.
Yeah. And basically make sure that any attempt to spy is thwarted.
Yes.
So if she's hanging out with her binoculars, people are like, hey,
Yeah.
the spy's over here,
Yeah.
you know, and they're just terrorizing her and also reminding her constantly of all the mean things she said and how nobody appreciates her
Yeah.
opinions.
And naturally, this also leads to her neglecting her schoolwork. Her parents get concerned. They talk with Miss Ellison, and now there is a daily notebook check.
Oh.
All of her notebooks are confiscated.
yeah, they don't want her writing anything
No.
anymore.
Yeah.
To the point where, they're having her notebooks checked at school.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy.
I mean, the fact that Ellison does it in front of the entire class, like doesn't pull her out in the hall and do it later. Literally,
Well, the
all
kids
the
all
kids
know.
are laughing.
And
Yeah.
they all know already.
all
you know,
laughing.
it's
She
just-
has to stand up. She has to get patted down. I mean, it's crazy. So this all culminates to a scene during art class.
Yes.
And they're all doing their little paintings with blue paint. We see that Harriet is walking over with her tub, and we also see another kid coming behind her, dumps blue paint all over her. This inspires Marion to come over and start helping, but instead she's actually taking paper
Pouring.
towels and wiping and pouring more onto her.
But then Harriet just hauls off and smacks her in the face,
her.
which was very visually interesting because it left a perfect blue handprint on her
Yes.
face. So now we enter into Dark Harriet.
But we go into my favorite scene is the ending of this scene where she runs home, fills a bathtub with water, and just dives in as the blue paint comes off of her. And I've loved that shot always. It's been a memorable shot ever since I've seen this movie.
The whole thing is very memorable. And
Yeah.
and again, very it's tough because you want to feel bad for Harriet, for being bullied.
Yeah.
And I remember as a kid feeling bad for her for being bullied, but she was also being kind of a bully in her way.
Especially now.
But well, that's why I said we're entering dark Harriet. Because now
Harriet. Sweet Harriet.
oh gosh. So loving. No, since she can't have a notebook, she takes her compass, a writing compass,
Yeah.
art compass, and carves the names in her desk of all the kids she's
When
going to
I
get
was
revenge on.
revisiting this week, I was really, really shocked that doesn't come back at some point. Because, that's destruction of school property, for one.
Did kids not carve up their desks in your school?
For two, it's not quiet. It's not quiet while she's doing it.
No.
They're watching a film on a projector and she is just carving away.
For the record, I think the reason she can get away with that in part is because this is phase 2 of the Anti-Spy Club, which is basically ignoring her.
Yeah.
Because the only thing worse than everybody looking at you and making fun of you is people literally just turning their backs. They don't want anything to do with
Well,
it.
and that was the start of the Anti-Spy Club. As she comes in, the next day into school, and Sport's ignoring her, Janie's ignoring her, and she realizes that she no longer has any friends. And then after the paint incident, all bets are off. So she carves this name, and she gets into a list of revenge that includes cutting the one girl's hair.
Oh man, that one messed with me even a lot now because that was something bullies threatened me with all the time.
Yeah.
Was that they were going to cut my hair while I was at my desk.
I got hair plucked while I was on the bus, which is why I stopped. I mean, there's a multitude of reasons I stopped riding the bus, but one of the ones being that I started getting tormented to a point where I was just like, 2-mile bike ride in the morning, fuck it.
I mean, I was spit on the bus. That was pretty rough.
Yeah.
When I tell people that, I always forget until I see their reaction how mortified they are that I used to have to wash my hair and my backpack every day after school because it would be covered in spit.
I had my backpack sliced open once. That was really not cool.
By a knife.
Mm-hmm. Some kind of blade. I don't know what it was.
It was probably scissors.
I think it was an X-Acto knife.
Oh, I mean, I could do it too.
Or just like one of those blades. But yeah, so she cuts the one girl's hair. She scribbles inside the one girl's locker that has all the pictures of the
Ruins
pop
all
star.
the pictures of the pop star.
We also get a taste of Sport's made picture being printed and put all over the school. Janie's experiments fucked with when she turns on a Bunsen burner hotter and boils it over. And then the piece de resistance, I would say, is Marion is told that her dad...
Well, this one's just cruel. She just looks at Marianne.
Looks at Marion in the bathroom, tells her that she heard her parents talking and that her dad has not seen her in X amount of years, lives at a different place because he had an affair with his secretary, and sends her a gift every year, and that's basically about it.
Yeah, it said he lives this far away and he hasn't visited you in 3 years.
Yeah. And I mean, naturally, Marion doesn't take that well.
Well, then she puts the coup de grace on because he doesn't love you. That's the part that ugh.
Yeah.
And then you finally feel bad for Marianne a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Marion at this point, runs off. So then we get to Harriet back at home, and we hear her parents calling her down. She does not move from the bed. And by this point, too, she's so depressed. She's so sad. Even though she's doing these things to get the revenge that would make her feel better, it's not.
Yeah.
She's lost her friends, all this stuff. So it gets to a point where her parents are talking to her, and she's, trying to tell them that she's fine. They start bickering right by her. She tells them, I'm fine, and screams it, throws something, and they're just like, no, I don't think you are fine. And we see them taking her to a child psychologist.
Which honestly was probably the best possible thing for her. And we have kind of what's become a cliche, the psychologist where the kid's like, and then the psychologist is like, what if we play a game? And he pulls out like an old 1970s Rock'em Sock'em robot.
Puts his hat on backwards, sits backwards in a chair. Oh, yeah, I'm a cool psychologist.
Let's rap about your problems.
But yeah,
fam.
she's like, why does a grown adult have this many games? And he's like, I enjoy
Don't you have toys
too.
at home?
Yeah. And so we even get to a point of they're playing Rock'em Sock'em Robots, and she's kicking his ass. He's writing notes down, and she's just like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, just writing. And she's like, can I, or how does it happen? Because he offers the notebook.
Yeah, I think he says, would you like to see what I'm writing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when he's like, well, how about I give you a notebook of your own? The rest of the session is spent. She's back writing. And then he's like, well, Harriet, it's time to go. Can I keep the notebook? I'll talk to your parents.
Yeah. And you can see, her light up again because this is just so important to her.
So we see that she starts doing better. She's playing with her dad one day. Her mom and her dad are sitting on the curb, and she's doing what is that thing called?
Oh, well, it's like an origami.
Yeah.
The origami fortune teller.
Fortune teller, yeah. And, she's asked her dad to pick one, and he's like, turn around. And she's like, that's not what it says. He goes, no, turn around. But actually, it's not his voice. It's Golly's voice. Because Golly is back to visit her for a little bit.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, why would she want to stay away entirely anyway?
Yeah.
And she probably had heard that Harriet's been having some problems.
Issues,
and who better to help her than one of her greatest confidants?
Yeah, the thing I like about that scene too is that's when you get a full shot of her mom on the stoop with her dad, and her mom is smiling, like at Golly's presence being there, and I do like that little detail.
Yeah, absolutely.
So naturally, she tells Golly what she's done, and Golly basically breaks it down to her that you gotta atone for these horrible things. You gotta you have really good friends. You don't want to hurt them because of stupid things like this.
Yeah.
I love this scene so much.
It's important because Harriet becoming a little shit is a valuable lesson for kids watching it because all of us are going to be little shits at some point. And like I said, we just, we all hope that the kids gain empathy.
Well, Golly tells her two specific things. She has to apologize, but she also has to lie. And she's like, what do you mean lie? And she's like, well, you can think those things about people, but you don't want to tell them. You want to, you want to be friendly with them. You want to make them feel good. If you tell them the truth of what you think about them, and it could be the truth about them, it's not going to make them feel very good. So you have to apologize to them to get them back and lie to them sometimes.
Yeah. Small lies to make people not feel bad about themselves are not harmful.
No. So that's when, Golly basically tells her, it's worth it in this sense, because Harriet's like, well, it's not worth it to apologize. And she's like, it's worth it to be an individual.
No, it's a really good
scene. I love that line.
It's such a good scene.
Yeah, and her individuality is what makes others nervous. And that's when she basically, again, is telling her, you have to stay true to your nature, but in doing so, you also have to be kind about it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
No, it's great. And this is what blew me away revisiting it, because honestly, I might have watched it once in my early 20s, but I hadn't watched it since. So it's been probably 15 to 20 years since I've watched this movie.
Yeah.
And the heart of it is exactly where I remember it.
Yeah. So she ends it by saying, good friends are one of life's blessings. Don't give them up without a fight.
Great line.
So she tries to make amends with Sport, and that's when we find out that Sport's dad has gotten a successful gig because he's gotten his advance. He's gotten his check, which is what, $10,000, I think he says.
$10,000, but that's in 1996 money, so that's like $8 million.
Yeah.
No, but it's a lot of money, and especially
money
for them when they weren't, homeless.
No.
They just were struggling.
They were struggling.
And the way he talks to Sport, how excited is, how he's like,
get those Nikes with the straps and the buckles.
Yeah, no more having to buy milk and milk with change.
Yeah.
And then and
spaghetti only when we want it.
Yeah, we can have steak if we want to.
Yeah.
And then Harriet, pops in to say congratulations. How does it feel to be a writer?
Yeah.
And he's like, it's amazing. It's a dream. And then she says, awesome. And he's like, we should all go to dinner. We'll go somewhere. I love this line. He says, we'll go somewhere really fancy and just abuse the waiter.
Yeah. And Sport's like, oh, Harriet can't.
Yeah. And he's like, what do you mean she can't?
Yeah.
He's like, you didn't ask.
Yeah. And he shuts the window on her, basically telling her, fuck off at this point. And same thing with Janie, goes to Janie. sneaks up Janie's window, and Janie's not happy to see her, even shows her the door and tells her to get out.
And by sabotaging Janie's experiment, it exploded on her mother.
Yeah.
So now Janie's not allowed to do her thing either, just like Harriet wasn't allowed to write in a notebook.
And so Janie puts her right outside the door, and that's when she basically looks at the door and she goes, "I'm sorry, Janie, okay?" And is, again, just trying to make amends, but, she's really hurt her friend, so it's not just going to be a simple sorry at this point. So we've also, one thing we missed by this point is that Marion suggested that their holiday play or their yearly play be a celebration of healthy foods.
Yeah.
And this is leading us to the best climax of this movie, where Harriet is in class with all her students, and the teacher is telling them, they got to start thinking about the play. And that's when Harriet raises her hand and she says, Miss Ellison, I've been thinking, I don't think it's fair for the class president to both be the class president as well as the newspaper writer. And I would like to nominate myself as the newspaper writer. And she's like, okay, well, this is interesting. Well, who else, would like to see Harriet become the writer? We see some hands go up a little bit, but one of the best thing about the scene is the boy in the purple socks finally speaks. And
because that was the other thing is he's known for his purple socks and never talking.
Never talk, and drools while he sleeps too.
Yeah, oh yeah, because he falls asleep in class a lot.
And he delivers this beautiful little dialogue of basically saying, well, I think, I think I would like to have Harriet as the writer, because different people need to write, and we need to, hear people's different opinions. Otherwise, we're all going to have the same opinion.
Well, and Harriet politicked it pretty well.
Yeah.
She didn't say that the class president shouldn't be allowed to do it.
Yeah.
She said, I think that's too much for one person to do.
Yeah.
And the kid in the purple socks, he chimes in and says, like, we need different voices and whatever, because he's actually smart.
He's very smart.
Yeah.
Yeah. So naturally, the class decides to raise their hands. Harriet's elected the writer. We see her take out a typewriter on her bed back at home and starts typing. And that's when we close the movie with just a montage of things that we see. Like, we see that George, who is the fruit thief, is actually giving the fruit and vegetable away to these children that are behind.
And and with the blessing of the restaurant, because he ends up doing it with the owner. She's like, oh, no, give them more.
Yeah.
Give them more.
Yeah.
Which I love, although I will say upon rewatching it as an adult, they're like 19th century, just like errant children he's giving stuff to. I was like, where are all these ragamuffins coming from? But
Please, sir, have you got a hay penny?
But it is a really sweet moment where you realize like what he was actually doing is being altruistic and kind. Sorry, a little emotional.
Yeah.
But what's even more special is he wasn't just being kind and helping people. He was doing it when no one was looking. Because that's just who he is.
Yeah.
It's not, and I'm a big believer in life that when people say like, oh yeah, they gave all that to charity, but like, they wanted attention or a tax write-off or whatever. And I always say, I'm like, but did that build a school?
Yeah.
Like, did it still help, or did the money not work?
Yeah.
Because somebody wanted to feel good. Whatever.
It is what it is.
But there is something very special about doing something with no desire for anything other than a good deed to be done.
Yeah.
And that's something that Harriet's realizing as she's reframing her bit of spying that she's still doing.
Yeah.
She's realizing that she's not seeing people at their worst. She's actually just seeing people at their truest.
At the truest.
And if you just look closer, which I love, because there's a gag where basically she sticks her head through the bars of the window, which almost gets her head completely stuck.
Yeah.
But by sticking her head further, she sees the kids getting the food and realizes that I had to take a closer look.
Yeah.
Which is a beautiful metaphor combined with literal, it's a wonderful moment.
Yeah.
And we also find out that the anti-spy club is becoming a bunch of bullcrap.
One of my favorite moments of that, though, is that we see that Marianne and her assistant or whatever are giving them cake to build this clubhouse, but also they're getting full-size pieces of cake while the rest of the crew...
Bigger than full-size.
Yeah.
They're getting
the rest of the crew's getting
mother
scraps.
loads. Yeah, they're getting like little slices, and they're getting these giants, and they're like, well, as the leaders, we need our strength. So that is the final straw. But I love it. She turns to Sport. Sport's like, this is crap or whatever. And she's like, you don't have to be here. He's like, you're right.
You're right.
And he gets up and leaves and grabs a handful of cake on his way out. And that signals all the kids to just get the hell out of there.
Yeah. So the spy club is completely disbanded. Harriet ends up apologizing to everybody. They also like her writing. Like we see that they're enjoying her writing, and she's also basically given up spying to do the newspaper writing, which is great.
Yeah. And it's constructive.
Yeah.
And it's helpful. And she really does realize that like kindness is important.
Yeah.
Empathy is important. You don't know everything even when you want to, and you're trying to know everything, you don't know everything.
Yeah, and this is all in the article. This is we're hearing the article as she writes it, and we're seeing this montage. So the article goes to the class, the whole class sees it, and that's when we cut to the finale, which is the play. As we see a stink bomb go off for one.
Whoops.
But then the kids also break out into a dance of get up off that thing.
And they just have fun.
They have a blast.
They're all dressed as food.
Yeah.
So
Harriet's an onion.
Yeah, and they take out a giant turkey baster and start limboing
under
which
it.
Is just side note.
Yeah.
The most 90s thing that they could have added to it. And I love that.
Yep.
The limbo was a real thing in 95, 96. Like, limbo just was in tons of stuff.
It was.
Because there was that period of where, like, everybody loved everything Jamaican for, like, a hot minute. And limbo stuck.
It did stick. But one of the things I love, too, is she apologizes to everybody except Marion in the article. But Marion accepts the apology because she realizes that she was shitty, too.
Yeah. No, and that's fair because Marion is a bully.
Yeah.
And she needs to work on that. But I think Harriet did realize that one of the reasons Marion is the way she is she's insecure.
Yeah.
She does feel like her father doesn't love her.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
Yeah.
I know because you came in when I was finishing the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember at one point you were just kind of like, man, that must be rough. And I was like, psh, whatever. Your dad always loved you.
I think it was more so the fact that, like, that's probably the harshest thing that Harriet does in her exacting revenge is telling somebody that your parent doesn't love you. So that
it was brutal.
Yeah.
No, it was brutal. And that's kind of the thing is, like, a very adult moment is learning that just because you can hurt somebody, just because you can get a dig in and win, doesn't mean you should.
Doesn't mean you should.
And doesn't mean that just because somebody's mean to you doesn't mean they deserve it either.
No.
So that's important.
So yeah, that is the end of 1996's Harriet the Spy.
And it's a damn fine film.
Damn fine movie. So do you want to guess what the budget was on it?
8 million.
12 million.
Okay, I was close.
Budget of 12 million. It opens July 14th in 1996 and makes 6 million opening weekend. Worldwide ends up grossing $26,570,000.
Not bad.
Yeah.
I'm sure they cleaned up on home video.
Home video, they probably did a lot.
And think about when it was time to show it on Nickelodeon, most of the license fee would be nothing.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but is this the first orange VHS?
I don't know for sure.
I think it might be.
It could be, but there were a lot of Nickelodeon home videos.
I don't know if they. So
I couldn't say for sure.
Yeah,
that's one thing where I really don't know because Orange was so synonymous with Nickelodeon.
Yeah,
I mean, they were so good at branding. They owned a color from the rainbow.
They did indeed. So they filmed in Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Florida. They also filmed in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Bronwyn commented it was Paramount's financial decision to make Toronto look like New York. Although, to tell you the truth, nothing looks like a row of brownstones and stoops like New York, so we just started choosing great locations to create a visual experience.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
This was Nickelodeon's first feature film. The screenplay was adapted from Louise Fitzherg's 1964 novel of the same name. Director Bronwyn Hughes commented on the adaptation. Certain things about the 60s story, especially the relationship between the kids and their parents, had to be adjusted to make sense because you don't have that same kind of formality that you had in the book in the 60s between the parents and the kids. So those things needed to be made more natural for 90s kids, but it was very important to me that the things that really affected Harriet in the book would be things that really affected Harriet in the movie. The result mixed elements from various decades, but Hughes aspired to create a timeless film that featured a little technology, because in all honesty, it doesn't.
Yeah, it's almost, I think there's a telephone.
Yeah. The letters that Harriet writes on the top corners of the pages in her notebook spell, "Everybody hates me."
Damn.
Yeah. Michelle Trachtenberg opted out of Matilda in favor for this film.
I think she would be a little old for Matilda.
I think so too, yeah.
So, but I think it turned out the way it was supposed
to. Yeah. Many theatrical versions included the pilot episode of Hey Arnold as a short before the start of the film.
Wow.
Rosie O'Donnell, Old Golly, remembers reading the novel when she was 10 years old, and it was one of her favorite novels as a child. She immediately accepted the role of Old Golly when it was offered to her as a result without reading the script first.
I'm sure the money didn't hurt either.
I'm sure it didn't. Michelle in real life was a huge fan of tomato sandwiches and spent many days on set consuming whole tomatoes as a snack. She was also a big fan of the books, so she was very happy to accept the role when she got the call.
That was another thing, by the way. There was a scene where she's making her own tomato sandwiches, and every day she eats tomato sandwiches with mayo.
Yep.
And her mom's like, "Don't you want to try something different?
Cream cheese with olive, roast beef.
I was a kid who preferred to eat for a very long time, preferred to eat the same thing.
No shit.
Oh, but I was a picky eater, dude.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe that now because I will eat anything put in front of me. You don't have to agree that much.
It's more so that like finding out that Thai 9 officially has a 9th spice level. I want to see you take it down. After watching you eat hot oils, I want to see this.
As long as nobody vapes on my food first at Thai 9. I'm sorry, Thai 9. I had, in my neighborhood, we had one of the best Thai restaurants I've ever eaten at, and it closed.
Yeah.
And that broke my heart. They said they were going to reopen, and they never did.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did Thai 9 close on your birthday when you made reservations too?
No, I would never be so foolish. No, that's crappy too.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, I had a Thai restaurant that was in the corner that was so nice. I would take people from California who came here to do work and stuff there, and they would go, "This is incredible." And those people are hard to impress.
Yeah.
You know, when they hear, "Oh, we're gonna have Thai food in Ohio."
Was that the place we went after filming Haunting Inside? With
yes.
Okay, I thought so.
Yeah, and I took Brink Stevens there as well. I took everybody I could there.
Yeah,
because I discovered that place with a friend when I was 18 years old, and it was it was like a little hole in the wall.
Yeah,
and nobody seemed to know about it. And then I move away. I come back 3 years later, and that place is packed every Friday. I would never go even for takeout on Fridays because it was so busy.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry.
The young child actors commented that Rosie O'Donnell was basically a big kid. O'Donnell commented that Golly was a childlike spirit and grown adult with the message to the kids to always stay true to your nature, a message that anybody can use at any time.
Damn right.
Bronwyn was known to wear many different hats on set, both figuratively and literally, would snap her fingers to get points across while directing, and was said to have a great artistic sense and visual style. That is one thing I don't think we talked about enough in this movie is the shot style and the directing style of this movie is very creative.
Yeah, and it looks like an older film.
Yeah.
A little bit. And I think that's on purpose to kind of give it a reality.
Especially those scenes in the artist park, like the style that's in those scenes is really
it's cool. Very, very beautiful. I mean, it's a film where unfortunately, but fortunately, the content's so good and the direction feeds it so well, you just kind of don't notice it, which is honestly the best compliment is that we didn't even notice how well you directed it because the movie's so good.
Yeah. Charlotte Sullivan, who played Marion in the film, recalled on the shoot when Bronwyn would direct us, if we weren't walking, she's like, okay, you'll bop, bop, bop this way and then bop, bop, bop this way. She was always dancing. I don't remember her not dancing on the set. And music was always playing. It was very cool. And in terms of performance art, she was very pretty ahead of her time. It was a great way to also direct children. It was a way to keep things alive.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
Eartha Kitt was very excited to take the role of Agatha, as Eartha herself fit the character notes of eccentric and a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I that was my first like knowing
her
exposure to her.
Yeah,
because I didn't know she played. I mean, I watched Batman.
Yeah,
but I didn't know she played Catwoman.
Yeah,
until later on. But yeah, she was so perfect for that role.
The final dance number required a choreographer who went by the name of Roland, who worked with the kids extensively for the final scene. All the young child actors had a fond memory of the day where they got to wear their costumes for filming. Bronwyn, while in prep for the scene, commented she wasn't sure what was going to happen or how it would go, but mistakes are funny and make for great additions to film.
Damn right, especially for a kids movie where it's finally where we're getting the relief of the joy and the fun after having we had to eat our veggies, so now we get the pudding.
In a 2022 interview with E.T., Trachtenberg commented that she still told by fans 20 plus years later that her character inspired some of them to become writers and is still very moved by the effects of Harriet the Spy. Trachtenberg, nearly breaking into tears during the interview, also shared a memory that she had held Rosie O'Donnell's first child, Harper, while on set, who was now 26 at the time of the interview.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, she also added that she remembers touching Sarah Michelle Gellar's tummy when she was pregnant with her first kid on the set of Buffy.
Aw.
Yeah. Trachtenberg went on multiple statewide promotional tour in prep for the film's opening, during which she visited 2 Planet Hollywoods where she donated her spy built as well as the yellow coat for displays.
I love that. That's so great.
At the 1997 Kids' Choice Awards, Harriet the Spy took home the Favorite Movie Actress role for Rosie O'Donnell. At the Young Artist Awards, Best Leading Young Actress for Michelle Trachtenberg and Best Supporting Young Actress, Vanessa Leachester, who plays Janie in the film.
Well, I mean, that's a little bit of nepotisticness, but you know.
And as we wrap up, prepare yourself because this one got me.
Okay.
So another adaptation of Harriet the Spy was released as a television movie in 2010 titled Harriet the Spy Blog Wars, with Jennifer Stone in the title role. In 2021, an animated TV series based on the novel with Beanie Feldstein as the titular character was released on Apple Plus, and in April of 2023, it was announced that Trachtenberg would make a guest appearance in the series as Dr. Wagner, which would be her final television appearance before her death in February of 2025.
Wow, so talk about full circle.
Closed her legacy as being the doctor on the episode of the show. And could not think of a more appropriate final appearance, even if it unfortunately was the last one.
No, that's really special.
It really is.
Yeah.
So what are your final thoughts on 1996's Harriet the Spy?
I mean, nostalgia says own it.
Yeah.
Nostalgia says own it because it's special to me. I think that if you have children and you've never seen this or you haven't seen it in a long time, watch it with them.
Oh, yeah.
They'll love it. And if they don't, beat it into them.
Or beat them with it.
Either way, because it's still on DVD only, so
Only
it's bigger.
DVD,
It'll hurt a lot more.
Hurt a lot more.
Yeah.
Or the VHS.
Oh, even better.
Laserdisc.
Yeah, oh yeah, it depends on how bad your kid is. But no, for me, it's a buy it. I'm not going to preface that any further. It's a buy it. It's a great film to have.
Yeah.
A great film to watch. A great film to appreciate. And yeah, that's all I've got. What about you?
It's a buy it for me as well. I find this while this is absolutely a kid's film, I feel like adults will get more from this film, especially kids that grew up with this movie now, going back and revisiting it, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
It is a adorable performance, not only just by the entire child cast, but Trachtenberg is so good in this movie, and she's so bubbly, like in the interviews. Like I said, I watched several to get some of the facts and everything, and one of the things I took away from her is that she was just so much a kid, but also was very mature to the point of being able to talk to these adults and be on these talk show appearances, and was just so cute about everything and very real about everything too.
No, she was incredible in every way.
And watching that 2022 interview with E.T., she not only did did I find out that stuff about Harriet and Buffy, but she also has a Tubi TV, a true crime series called Mary Murder. What is it? Something Mary and then Murder. I can't remember what the first word is, but she's narrating it. It's a true crime series that she narrated. She created during COVID. One of probably the last projects that she ever had a hand in.
Wow.
And I haven't watched it yet, but I'm definitely going to check it out. But she was just, if you can watch, it's an 8-minute interview, and it's just her and another person from ET on a webcam, and you just see her being so genuine about not only just her life in these films, but like, she was 10 years old the first day of filming on Harriet the Spy. That was her birthday. Her birthday was the first day of principal photography.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, she talks about that. She talks about the whole thing with Rosie, talks about how genuinely that was just an environment for her to come about, and now being, 20 plus years later, she just can't believe how lucky she was to have that experience.
I would agree.
And I think that's the perfect way to wrap it up in saying how lucky we are to have this movie. Because, I mean, I've read Harriet the Spy. It's a phenomenal book. The movie is just a time capsule, not only of Nickelodeon, but of kid power movies, like I said, to an extent that aren't the let's trap the snowplow man in a snowplow and all that stuff. It's being real. It's being very genuine to the time.
Well, and much like Mrs. Doubtfire, it's a film. The reason they had to update it was the 90s was the era of not all families look the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's much more common. Parents split up and challenges arise, and while they didn't go in as heavily as like Mrs. Doubtfire, they were much more about showing what the 90s was for kids.
Absolutely.
And that was why Nickelodeon was so successful for so long, was they had their finger on the pulse of like, we're going to show kids the world they see, but we'll show it in a way that helps them learn. So I couldn't agree more.
So we always like to end the show with a couple of recommendations. I have two this week. The first one being 1996's Matilda, currently on Netflix and rentable on Prime and Fandango. A girl gifted with a keen intellect and psychic powers uses both to get even with her callous family and free her kindly school teacher from the tyrannical grip of a sadistic headmistress. If you haven't seen Matilda, I'm sure it'll come to the show at some point, but B, it is so worth revisiting. That movie just gets better and better.
They showed that at the drive-in during COVID.
Yeah.
And it was really awesome to revisit it.
It's a lot of fun. And the other recommendation I have is 2012's The Perks of Being a Wallflower, currently available on Max, rentable on Prime and Fandango. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in 1991, high school freshman Charlie is a wallflower, always watching life from the sidelines until two students, Sam and her stepbrother Patrick, become his mentors, helping him discover the joys of friendship, music, and love. Fantastic movie. I've heard a great book. I have not read the book, but the movie I fell in love with when I was in college, and I need to revisit it. It's been a while.
My recommendation is a film I wish I had seen as a kid, but I saw it in my later 20s.
Mm-hmm.
From 1995, Angus.
I was wondering if you were going to pick Angus.
Because Angus is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Here's the synopsis. A miserable fat teenager secretly has a crush on the class beauty, ends up becoming the surprising participant to dance with her at a high school dance, meaning he's got to get his act together with the help of his best friend. And the reason that movie's so great, that's not a very good rundown, is not only does Angus have to learn to have confidence and all these things, but the beautiful girl he's obsessed with is complicated.
Yeah.
And has a really hard home life. And they handle it in a way that I thought was really wonderful.
Yeah.
As a lesson to kids.
Yeah.
So I love Angus from 1995. If I had seen it when I was a teen, it would have been one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
Because it's perfect. It's all about being an outsider.
Yeah.
And I identified.
And you just reminded me of one that I'm going to go ahead and throw into the hat too. It's one that you and I love that does not get talked about. I think it's 2017's The Edge of 17.
Yeah, I think it was 2017.
Yeah, 2017.
The Edge of 17
with Woody Harrelson. Yeah, fantastic movie. I cannot recommend enough. Coming of age story, a lot of fun.
Another great story about an adult taking an interest in a kid.
Yeah, a lot of good fun on that one.
Great one.
Do we have any emails this week?
Believe it or not, we do.
Shocker.
Last I checked, 2.
Ooh.
But you never know.
Which one's going to make me cry?
Okay, first we have one. This one is from Jaden.
Okay.
And the subject line is just appreciation email.
Okay.
Hey, excuse me. Hey guys, just want to give you a shout out all the way from Australia.
Oh, hell yeah.
Want to write to say thank you for the amazing and fun podcast. You guys have got me on to some new favorite movies like Trick and The Slumber Party Massacre.
Hell yeah.
Would you guys ever do an episode on my favorite movies, Scream or Aliens?
Both of those are highly possible. Scream especially.
Well, and Aliens is great too. But
Aliens,
Scream is really likely.
Yeah.
And then the final line, keep up the great work, Jaden.
Thank you so much, Jaden. I will tell you, on a current podcast that I guest on, our buddy Mike Ashkui's podcast, This Week in Geek, we just did not only a ranking of this entire Scream franchise, but we did 2 episodes breaking up trilogy 1 through 3 and then 4 through 6. So if you find those on This Week in Geek, there's a lot of Scream talk on that.
Yeah. And I want to mention before I read this next email that you can send us an email at doyouevenmoviepod@gmail.com or go to doyouevenmovie.com. Send us an email. We absolutely love hearing from you guys. This next one's from Daniel.
Okay.
The subject is a request or two.
Oh.
Hey guys, I've been waiting patiently for my request and haven't heard it yet, so I'm going to request it for my birthday.
Okay.
Technically, my birthday is August 8th. But that's a Friday this year, and I know you do your show on Tuesday. So my request is 2019's Ready or Not.
Oh, hell yeah.
You should write that down.
I don't even have to. I'll remember that.
No, we'll do Ready or Not. That's a great suggestion. I have another request, which you can do whenever you have time or just feel like doing musicals or, in this case, an opera.
Mm-hmm.
That request is, I bet you've guessed it, Repo, the Genetic Opera.
Yep.
It's a great movie with incredible actors, and to make it even odder, Paris Hilton.
Can I get you to watch that movie?
I don't know.
I'm a huge Repo fan, but it's
I'd be willing to give it another chance, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So I might be willing to give it another chance.
Okay.
Then he put, yikes, but honestly, not that bad about Paris Hilton. A special thanks to Mr. Kuto. Extreme apologies if I spelled that incorrectly. You missed an O.
Yeah,
there's 2 O's in there. For giving all of his weekly spooky listeners a special advanced listen of Crawl. I released
Crow
Crawl and Crow early on there because my voice was shot and I needed something on Friday. So I figured, why not give them out a little early? I did in fact listen to it both on Friday of last week and Tuesday of this week. As always, we all appreciate everything you guys are doing for us. Even when you're hoarse from all of the podcasts, you still find a way to push through and keep us entertained where or whenever we decide to listen. Peace to your mother, LOL. Daniel.
Thanks you so
Daniel.
much, Daniel.
Ready or Not's definitely gonna happen.
Yeah.
So Repo, we'll see. You never know.
Repo's possible, but we'll see. But yeah, I would say Ready or Not's absolutely possible. Scream's possible. Alien's possible. So those are some good recs we got.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
At one point, I'm going to go through our entire end of our episodes and pull these recommendations out and write them in a list for. I've got a short list going for us that is only 400 items right now, so we could absolutely add some more to it.
Yeah. So, but with that all being said,
yes,
I suppose it's time to get out of here.
Would you like to know what we're talking about next week on the show, though?
I guess I would.
Okay, so May They Rest in Peace is going to continue as we are going to highlight a film that both is getting a sequel the week that we are going to be dropping our episode, and we unfortunately lost the great Tony Todd recently. who plays Death in 2000's Final Destination.
I'm really excited. I haven't watched the original Final Destination in a good 6 or 7 years, so I'm really looking forward to revisiting it.
And if you want to revisit it, it's readily available on Max right now. You can also rent it on Vudu and Prime or wherever you get your movies at. There's a great Blu-ray set out now that is 1 through 4. I don't even know if those would hit 4K yet. I don't think they have.
So.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
But yeah, Final Destination from 2000 next week on the show as we pay our tribute and respects to the great Tony Todd.
An incredible actor, incredible body of work.
Who can rap the Candyman song so well.
Oh, his appearance on Holliston is one of the Candyman hungry.
He's running out of things to rhyme with Candyman.
That means the shower's almost over. But with that all being said, thank you guys so much for listening to us here at Do You Even Movie. We really do appreciate it, and we really appreciate the kind messages and emails we've been getting about the show. Happy to bring this level of movie nerd friendship to you all.
Yeah.
And it really does mean a lot. It really does make us want to do the show even harder.
It does.
Than before. So, but until next time, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. If you're listening on your favorite podcasting app, make sure you subscribe over there. If you could leave us a review, we do appreciate it. But all that's left to say really is, we'll see you next Spy.
It's Tuesday, Final Destination Day.
Oh, that's going to be dangerous. Adios, guys.